weren't recording all of that already?
No.
Oh, that was old. That's as good as it's gonna get.
Banter. Wait, it's the chaff.
What? That means we had to strip the posters.
Well, they all died.
Yeah.
No, we. You did, Thanos. I was literally in the podcast booth during the first showing when it would have wrapped up, and as soon as the snap happened, just all the posters just vanished and turned into ash.
Wow.
That's
great. Excellent Foley work.
Did that not happen in your guys'
And
screening?
then a horse ran by.
Are we watching Monty Python right now?
Yeah.
Yep.
I found these
I can
lovely
hear it.
coconuts off in the corner of the booth.
And off in the distance, there was a dog.
That was pretty
was
convincing.
really good.
That was really convincing.
Oh my God, you could give Frank Welker a run for his money.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Stop it.
That's the new Novice and Frank.
I will.
It's
just
the Novice and Frank.
me barking at Frank
No,
Welker.
it's just Frank, and then lots of Foley noises in the background.
All
Well,
I can
that's the new thing. Once you've surpassed being a novice in comic books, then you need a new thing to be a novice in, and so you get a new Frank with a new expertise.
That's right.
Replacing my Frank. All I can do just dogs of different sizes. That's all. The only.
That's a talent.
I can do varying.
Especially if you really
dogs.
don't like cats, that's a great talent.
Yeah.
We can pretend there are several different types of dogs in here.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
It's bring your pet day to the podcast booth.
I've got a little chihuahua.
Hold on. Let me see.
Down, boy. Down. Down.
Okay, Smoochie, we're trying to podcast right now.
There you go. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Frank, can we keep
I'm
it serious for a second?
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Big dog.
Oh.
Oh, I don't like big dogs.
This is so dumb. We got an intro
And
thing.
you
I know,
guys
all right,
said that we missed all the good stuff by not having to record.
All right. I'll go ahead and get us started here. Welcome to the latest crossover featuring Timm Talk.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, is that us?
Yeah, that's us, Cameron.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Featuring Timm Talk, the Novice and Frank,
Hello.
Hey.
and the podcast of Two Worlds.
The podcast of One World.
The One World, yes.
Primrose isn't here.
He just evaporated into a cloud of dust,
Yeah.
sadly. But he'll be back in like a year's time. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll bring him back
Yeah,
around.
he was a sequel character, so
Yes.
he wasn't allowed to stay
Spoiler
here.
alert.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is the latest crossover of what was formerly known as the Nerdist School comic book crossover, Nerdist School Network. It's not that anymore. Cameron, what was your proposal for what we should call this now?
I'm really pushing for the podcast of Frank, Timm, and Novice talk Two Worlds.
That
a nice
Rolls
collective-
off the tongue.
It
That-
does. It
you know
really
what?
does.
Right.
That is going to be great SEO. That's going to be the easiest podcast possible
Yeah.
to find everywhere.
It's gonna be easy website
Yeah.
to find.
It-
There's no way that .com.
even representation.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what we're going to call ourselves yet.
I'm
but-
also a big fan of Six Losers in a Booth present.
Yeah.
Thank you.
that's-
That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people might think it's a Reservoir Dogs or a Usual Suspects joke, but it is not. We are actually just six losers.
That's right.
5 today.
Who found each
Wasn't
other?
Wasn't
Yeah.
it 5 in the usual
I don't know.
suspects?
We've
Have
already
you
messed
Yeah.
it
seen
up.
the
I have seen
Okay.
Usual Suspects. We're
We
not
already-
starting off the podcast like this, Chris. If you balance out the Usual Suspects and Reservoir Dogs, it's about 6.
It's a lot of suits.
Well, at the end of The Usual Suspects, Benicio del Toro is turned to ash.
yeah.
This
Because
is actually-
it's
yeah.
all Kevin Spacey was wielding the Reality Stone.
Mhm.
Oh, what a horrifying idea.
Too soon. Too soon.
So
Time's up.
we've officially made the transfer over from Nerdist School Network to.
To
We
The
don't know.
podcast of
Something else.
Frank,
To
Tim,
blank.
and Novice talk Two
Got it.
Worlds.
Yeah.
We have
So
successfully
it's
made the
just-
crossover.
I think though it's important to bring up because we mentioned in one of the many podcasts going to be released this week that it's like people might notice that our ads aren't playing beforehand anymore. We don't have those intros, and I just want to let people know we didn't get kicked out. The Nerdist School wasn't like, get out of here, all you comic book affiliated
You
nerds. Too nerdy for Nerdist. But the theater here took a different turn. They're refocusing, rebranding. And we just don't know what we're going to do with the podcast network yet.
Well,
Right?
well, we are rebuilding the network. I mean, this is all inside stuff that the audience is clamoring for.
This
But no,
is-
the Nerdist School has become the Ruby LA. new theater, new focus, more inclusive, more feminist leaning. And so now with so Amanda, please, I'm talking.
Hey, who run the world?
Frank.
No, and so
Damn it. Guy's
the
the
network
worst.
is now restructuring. And so we don't have an official name for what it's going to be just yet, but keep an eye out for that. And also make sure to, if you're in LA, come by the Ruby. Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, always really good shows. They have, with the rebrand, especially like Friday and Saturday nights, have really like taken a turn to like having a lot of really cool shows. Like they did one like in a completely silent show.
Is that Ithamar?
I think so. It was like a one-man show.
Ithamar Has Nothing to Say is a sketch show all written by Ithamar Enriquez, who is, he was just on season 2 of Series of Unfortunate Events. He was in Lady Bird.
Oh, wait, who was he in Series of Unfortunate Events?
He had a house with, he had a hot air balloon.
Oh, he's that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
he's incredible.
He's a like Buster Keaton style phenomenal physical comedian, and I have seen the show. It is wonderful. I saw it when it was on a run someplace else. If you guys are in LA and you get the chance to come see Ithamar Has Nothing to Say, it's wonderful. You won't be disappointed.
Oh,
Yeah.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, and I don't.
Two-Man with Brian Shortall.
He does, yeah. He does Delicious Moments with Brian Shortall, which is also a long-running improv show that's been great. But this is all scripted. But it's strangely, I say strangely, which it shouldn't be that way, but it's a silent, meaning he doesn't speak. There's music and stuff.
Is there great Foley work?
Great, not
Does
as
he need great Foley
listen,
work?
I'm waiting for that call, Ithamar. You let me know if you need a dog of any size barking in your show. That's all I do. It's a really, really great show, and it's very poignant. It's funny as all get out, but it has some really sweet, poignant moments too. So there's not a lot that I would endorse, I guess, like with full confidence, but I would endorse that show.
Or at
for
all?
sure. Or at all. I wouldn't even endorse this podcast. I don't know what we're doing here.
Shouldn't, no. We don't even have a name.
That's the long,
I've provided a name, and we're sticking to it.
We don't even have a name.
that's the longest
So
you guys
basically-
have ever let me talk before. The Ruby is really working.
Fans, please send us your suggestions of what this should be called
That's
on
a
any of our
excellent call.
Instagrams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
look
listen
out.
up, Mom. Come on, send us an idea.
Is it the only way your mom talks to you is through Instagram or like social media
She'll send me
for
a
the
text.
Tim Talk
Yeah,
podcast?
she'll send me a text after each episode. It's like, good episode. And I'm like,
The problem
I'm glad
is
you still
that-
like
My
to talk
mom
to me.
listens too while she's walking the dog.
Oh, really?
Which is
Aw.
really sweet because she does not even remotely read comic books.
Oh, that's adorable. My
Yeah.
parents don't listen.
Oh.
No. They tell me every week. They said, I know you released a new episode, Chris, but we refuse to listen to it.
Wow, that's really what
Keep
a
up
way-
the mediocre work.
Good way to rub it in your face.
But they are keeping up with it.
Yeah, like, they know it's happening. They
You're like,
just-
listen,
they
as
don't
long as you
listen.
hit
Yeah.
subscribe, I don't care.
all right.
but
So,
so-
shall we get to the point of this?
Yeah,
Sorry,
what are we
Cameron,
doing
I'm
today?
the host.
Sorry.
Yeah. Now, why is it that you only put an effort on these crossovers? Are you trying to impress our friends?
I'm trying to impress our friends, Chris.
Okay. Well, then go ahead, Cameron. What were you going to say?
I don't know anymore.
Cameron, you're
You made me too
embarrassing him in front of the
nervous.
wizards.
Oh, yeah. I guess from right from the top, what did everyone think of Avengers: Infinity War?
Did we say we're talking about Infinity War yet?
No,
No.
nobody mentioned it.
I think I did.
I kept waiting for it to come out, and it just never
I'm pretty
did.
sure I did actually.
Nope. You said
Whoops.
it was a crossover.
Well, there we go.
And then we went off on that 10-minute tangent about what it should be called.
We're talking Infinity War, guys.
Yeah, Avengers: Infinity War, the new Marvel film that is sweeping the
Already
box
number one and
office.
everything.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
So, do you guys want to go around and just do like a real quick initial thoughts, and then we'll dig right in here?
Yes.
Let's do it. Do you want
I
to start?
thought
Amanda?
Chris was hosting.
Sure. Listen, I'm drunk with power.
I'm just drunk.
I'm
so it's
just
fine.
great, and Chris is just drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm laughing because I know what Frank is going to say. I know how I felt about it, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I was really skeptical because if you guys know me at all, you know that I have a tendency to not like these films where they put like 20 billion heroes in it. I feel like nobody gets their due. I thought they handled it really well. I had a couple little heartstring moments in it, which I also wasn't expecting. And yeah, I was thrilled. I think it's a good movie. Frank's giving me his
Now, Amanda, before Frank answers, what do you think Frank will say?
I don't know. There's so many things I would have changed. That's my impression of Frank.
And
Now,
Frank,
Frank,
your rebuttal.
what are you most excited for in Hotel Transylvania 3?
Cruise ships.
Good.
Vampires and cruise ships. And
How is that supposed to work? Like, isn't
I
it
know.
isn't it nonstop
It's just
sun?
a nocturnal.
Are they going up to like the North Sea or something like that?
I don't know,
in the
but
dead of
certainly
winter.
if you stay within your cabin, it's pitch black in there, so you're fine.
That's
Yeah.
true. If you don't
yeah.
shell out for a window suite.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't see him taking like steerage class though. I feel like you'd want to go first class. That's a lot of windows to cover up, and like portholes are much more difficult to cover.
True, although it does seem like it's a cruise ship designed to take monsters. So you think, I think they in
Oh,
the itinerary,
that's a niche market
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
But
they're planning, I think, to try to go to a route that's most advantageous for everybody to be able to enjoy all aspects of a cruise.
Maybe a blood buffet.
Yeah.
oh, that's
think
a
so.
lovely,
Freestyle cruise with a blood
actually.
buffet.
Frank, what pun name do you think this cruise liner has?
Ooh, let's see. Bites ahoy. That's terrible. That wasn't even a pun. That was awful. I don't know. There's so many things I would have changed.
Nailed it.
I saw it the first time, and I was like, okay. And then I saw it the second time, and I was like, all right. So right there,
difference there,
it went
yeah.
okay to all right.
Okay to all right.
Okay to all right. No, I figure like the story doesn't go very deep, but there's a lot of plates to juggle and spin and all this stuff. So from a technical standpoint, I mean, I think they accomplished a great task. I don't know in terms of the storytelling if it was. I didn't have a bad time. It wasn't like I was watching Justice League getting irritated, or even Batman versus Superman, which drove me even more crazy. Like this was a good watch, but it's also like just
You
Yeah,
have a
it's-
pretty
Would
evenly
you-
set bar right
Yeah.
now.
Would you
Yes.
say
Better
eh?
than Justice League.
yeah.
Oh,
That was her prediction before you
Yeah,
came
there
in
you
here.
go.
It
There
was
you
an
go.
Yeah. How about we want to throw it on over to Trevor?
I really enjoyed it. I could definitely see the criticism of it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's glossed over, and you're right, just, Frank. It is pretty shallow, but you kind of when the shallowness is the death of half the universe, it like gives stakes to it. But you're right; it doesn't really go in much deeper than that. And just the initial threat is pretty big, but yeah, it doesn't really go much deeper. And like the villains outside of Thanos, like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's hard to judge this movie because it's a season finale of a TV show,
yeah.
basically.
It's like Marvel's Best of Both Worlds Part 1.
Yeah, and so it's hard to judge it on its own merit when it's just pulling its entire narrative is pulled from strands from other movies. Like it's can't really stand on its own, like at all. I don't feel, but. Now it's becoming not initial thoughts and not full thoughts. But no, I enjoyed it. I've seen it twice. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it feels like 45. Like it just breezes by. I
agree.
felt that it's like there's just something going on, and whether that's spectacle or shallow or not, there's always something happening.
It's the time stone.
Yeah.
Well, clearly I loved it because I love everything. I had such a fun time with it. I think they did a much better job with Thanos than they really needed to. Like I think they gave him a better character than I was expecting. Just another Ronin, and honestly, getting anything besides that was a major plus for me.
On the other side, as somebody who loves the Disney theme parks so much and spends
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of time there, looking very dapper,
Thank you. Thank you.
what is the Infinity War presence like within the Disney park?
Well, right now, it's interesting because they're trying to throw all the characters at you at the park now. So before there was only like a very minimal time you could go and meet like Thor and Loki. Really, the only characters that were out were Star-Lord and Gamora. But now for the summer, they're really like everyone is out. They're bringing Doctor Strange in. Black Panther walks around. Captain America walks around. Spider-Man walks around. So they're really trying to mask the fact that everyone here is dead.
Is it Spider-Man in his homecoming suit or just his regular Spider-Man
Just the
suit?
regular Spider-Man. Yeah.
Well, don't they have to deal with like Universal's weird rights to the characters?
So the split is the Mississippi River. So everything west of that, theme park wise, Disney owns. Everything east of that, theme park wise, Universal owns.
Now, what about Disney's new floating theme park that's on the Mississippi River?
It's floating
Their
boat.
riverboat
when it's
gambling
going
casino.
northbound, do they not have Marvel? When it's going westbound, do they? Is that how that works?
I assume so.
Okay.
It's really all up in the air right now. Bob Iger is really fighting for it, but he's got a lot of fights on his front right now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, they've temporarily shut down to add the whole Star Wars expansion.
yeah.
So-
I mean, they closed down the whole Mississippi River for this.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have that kind of power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's why in Orlando it's still Tower of Terror as opposed to
Guardians,
Guardians.
right?
Interesting.
Yeah,
And that's why we're getting Marvel Land as opposed to them.
and why like Spider-Man is at Universal, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
those
like
guys, they've had those guys forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Long,
deal
long
was
time.
like late 80s. So they have like a
Really?
Hulk ride, a Spider-Man ride.
Yeah, I spent my best Thanksgiving ever as a kid at Universal, Florida, and we went and they had all the superheroes there. It's like a picture of us of like teeny tiny, me and my brother with Spider-Man. All like,
You had so many things to be thankful for.
I know.
All of the
It
heroes.
was really good.
I felt like it was an interesting deal though, because you think back when they first made that with Universal, they would have tried to get it for both coasts, and yet they only gave them the option for the East Coast.
Well, I think it was. I assume it was just a bidding war, and this was also the time when Marvel was just selling everything for money.
Literally selling discs at one point for money.
Yeah,
Selling what?
They like at one point they were so bankrupt they were selling off the office furniture.
Oh, I
In-
heard something different.
So
I heard selling dicks for money. I was
Well,
like,
maybe.
did they really?
yeah.
I
There
mean,
you go.
yeah.
Stanley's not above it.
Bringing that sweet cash.
Chris, what did you think of the movie?
I I liked it a lot. I don't think it's one I'm going to rewatch very often. So I've seen it twice now.
Have we all seen it twice?
Yes, Amanda.
I
Just say
I
yes.
saw it once.
But
Twice,
to me,
great.
in her heart, she saw it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You replay it in your head
Every day.
Yeah,
real time.
I do. It's going right now, actually. Yeah.
But she recorded it all on her phone.
I did. Yeah, that's how I'm making a little extra money on the side.
There you go.
Spoiler alert: podcasts don't pay much.
What?
No.
Yeah, will you tell me?
I only saw it once. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of weird. I always like to see something as close to the podcast as like when we record. I try to see something as close to this as I can
Right.
one time, and that's it. And then if I
Oh,
really like it, then I'll like
interesting.
go back later. But I also try not to read any articles, even if I want to. Like I wanted to go and I really wanted to go and watch like behind the scenes stuff on this one.
Yeah.
Like the fight sequences and just all the like green screen stuff. But I didn't do it. I always like to
I feel
come
like
in.
that hasn't really come out yet. Like
I mean, maybe it hasn't. I don't know. I haven't really watched anything, but I didn't really read. I know, like, I saw it with my husband, and he was basically like, he went through and he's like, oh, I'm reading all these reviews, and I'm like, don't tell me anything. I don't know. I like
Oh,
coming in.
no.
I like
Yeah.
coming in with like a very much like a.
Oh, is
clean
this
slate.
before or after watching?
After?
Okay, so this is
Yeah.
pre-podcast, post-movie.
Pre-podcast, and after we talk, then I'll think about all the things you guys said, and then I'll go look at articles and stuff.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of weird?
That's actually no.
That's
I've-
just how I don't know how I do it.
No, I like that.
No, I get that. I've done that before with stuff where I would like
Staying
watch.
pure.
Shut your face, Frank.
I'd go.
It's eh.
Yeah, like I go see something once, and then after listening to a few podcasts, I'm like, actually, I want to go see it again. I did that with The Last Jedi. It was like, I watched it once. We did our podcast. I listened to a couple other ones with interviews and stuff. I'm like, actually, you know what? Made this into second appraisal.
Yeah, because then it's kind of cool because then I get to go in and even if it's stuff that like, oh, I wish this had happened this way or things that like bothered people or things that they loved, then I can go back and watch it again and be like, okay, yeah, I get that even more. Now it bothers me. Dang it. No.
So, yeah, I,
What was it about you that you said like, well, this is one I don't need to revisit very often?
It's just, it's. I think it's so interesting. You guys said that it felt like 45 minutes. It felt like 3 hours for me. I found that like the whole second act is very slow. There are a lot of scenes that I like, and there are scenes that are necessary to set up later scenes that I like. But especially in that second viewing, I'm like, oh my god, really, just like get to the good stuff. It's just because it's so long and so dense. I just don't see it being what I'm just gonna throw on every once in a while. Like for me, Iron Man 1 is absolutely that way. The first Guardians, like they're fast, they're pacey, they're very propulsive. They just move along real quick. And I mean, by the nature of what this is, it had to be much more complex, and it's telling so many stories across so many different places, so many characters. It was necessary to have all of those like pieces line up so that you could have the big finale. It just took forever to get there.
What is a moment that you feel really like that this is dragging?
I mean, I'm trying to think.
For me, it's any scene with Peter Dinklage, to be honest.
the dink.
I like those. I like those a lot just because the dink is really fun. It's a weird phrase. I think a lot of the Thanos specific scenes actually are kind of that way. Like pretty much anything with Thanos and the Guardians, those are all really good scenes, but they are kind of heavy on exposition. They take a long time. Like I like the scene where they go out to retrieve the Soul Stone, but that is a long, slow scene with, there's like the scene before that where they have to set up that Thanos has Nebula and that she's getting tortured. That's just a slow scene of a whole bunch of exposition, even when they go out to go retrieve the Reality Stone. And there's that kind of twist there when he already has it. That is also a really long, slow scene.
It is interesting that you think like Thanos sets us all up to get Gamora there, but like I really want to like slow play this and just set up this elaborate reality for them to walk into. Like, well, all right.
And like to be fair, it all pays off. Like you go back, especially the second time, like, well, none of this could be cut. It all is building towards a huge moments, or even just big emotional moments, not necessarily big action-packed moments. But that being said, it dragged. It dragged for me.
I mean, I guess we're like the biggest thing is Thanos. I mean, the guy that's been teased about for the longest time.
The literal biggest thing.
The literal biggest thing. Did you find like everything they did here in this movie made you feel like he was a more well-rounded character than what we'd seen of him previously?
Oh yeah. I think he's definitely one of the best villains we've had because we spend the most amount of time with him and he gets the most to do and has.
Well, he's almost the main character. He is the main character. This is his movie.
He gets the most arc.
Everybody. I mean, this is his story. He is the protagonist. It feels like and I think that's also the smartest thing that Marvel could have done for him is make him the focus of it.
So we'd be invested.
Yeah, because you're like he's been a grin at the end of Avengers. The guy who sent Ronin in Guardians, and then he grabbed the gauntlet at the end of
Thor Ragnarok?
Ultron,
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, because the writers of Infinity War were like, yeah, I don't know where that came from. I don't know when that's supposed to be. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, but it's it does sort of solidify him as a strong character. Like, he's not sympathetic, but you do understand him on a level that you really haven't understood some of the villains in Marvel, like Christopher Eccleston's character.
Well, yeah. But on the same token, though, I felt like everything that we'd seen of him previously, and granted, there's not that much, just made him. I don't know. I feel like the stuff that we saw here, it would have been nicer to have a little bit of that seated in earlier. But that's also, playing Monday morning QB on a film franchise.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I liked him. I'm glad they called out that his chin looked like a scrotum because I had been feeling that for a long time. But I still wanted to know. I'm just not as. I liked him overall, and I'm glad that they showed the different levels that he had. But I kind of wish that they would have. I don't understand why he. Like, why does he give a shit about the universe? About the because his whole driving force is he wants to eliminate half the people, right? But I don't really understand like why he cares so much about he's like because I'm sure if there were a lot of environmentalists who would probably be like, yeah, that's a great idea. You know what I mean?
Al Gore.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
That's
in
what the
Kingsman.
inconvenient truth is that half of us gotta die.
Well, Infinity War 2, that's the next child of Thanos. It's just
Al
Gore.
You see Thanos walk out of the portal, and then a tiny Al Gore walk
Just
next to him.
holding one of his fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In his hole.
he's
Can I
got
tell you guys about the environment?
he's got a gauntlet, but like the thumb is just pressed down over his knuckles in the classic politician point.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But so I understand. I was trying to explain this to somebody. They're like, well, because he thinks that's the person was telling me this was like, oh, that's because it's like a numbers thing. Like that's what makes sense to him. But I don't really understand because I'm not, and maybe that's more backstory that's given in the comic books. I don't know. What's his like driving force? Why is he like?
It's different than in the comic
Usually
books.
it's for death, right?
He wants to bang
Yeah, he
death.
wants to fuck death.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that makes sense.
But
That's
not
pretty
necessarily
awesome.
a relatable thing. I think maybe in a movie for an
Is
audience.
this
like,
is this
Yeah,
Sandman
I found
death?
him less relatable because that wasn't his.
Is this
motivation,
Sandman death or
but-
somebody else death? Sandman death.
the physical like personification of the concept of death in the
It's
Marvel
a
universe.
female Grim Reaper.
Right.
And
but
it doesn't look
but
like Sandman death.
Oh, that Sandman
It's-
death. Everybody wants to fuck that Sandman death.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's a woman who basically runs around most of the time with a skull for a face.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. So when I say Grim Reaper, I mean like this skull face Grim
oh,
Reaper.
that's kind of weird. So okay, but so in the do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
now?
I think he's
It's
Yeah.
like I get the motivation, but I don't really get the like the motivation behind the motivation. Like why?
From what I understood, that was his plan for Titan. It was running out of resources. He was going to kill half the population so the other half could thrive. They didn't want to follow through with that plan, so he watched his planet die.
Okay.
And he didn't want any other planet to have to suffer through the fate of his world.
Okay.
So he was just like...
So, I mean, I guess it's interesting because he's not just a wholly bad guy.
Right.
He has, like, rhyme and reason behind what he's saying. So I like that. I think that's new for like, a big bad in one of these movies. You know, he's not, like, just plain evil. He's kind of psychotic, but not really evil. But I think it's interesting. But you know what I mean? Doesn't that make sense?
He could have been seen, like, especially, like, looking back and seeing his relationship with Gamora in this film, like... That really could have been addressed in Guardians 2, considering that whole movie was about fathers' relationships to their kids.
Yeah.
You really could have put Thanos in there and spared Infinity War of some of that heavy lifting.
25 minutes.
Yeah, you could, like, I mean, even, like, I think that scene with him and Gamora when she's a child, and, like, your first scene, that could have been dropped into Guardians super
But I
easily.
feel like, though, if you drop that in Guardians or Guardians 2, then you come around to this. Because there are some people who... I imagine there's not many people going to see this movie who haven't seen any of the rest of them. But there are definitely people who aren't as, like, up and up on this shit.
Oh, my second showing, when Red Skull reveals himself, I could hear the whispers, like, who's that guy? And I'm like, it's the guy from Walking Dead. Come on, guys.
Yeah, like,
you know who that is.
Yeah, like, I went and saw the second time around with my roommate, and like on the way there, he's like, "Okay, remind me of what's going on. Like, give me a refresher on all the Infinity Stones and where they came from and who has them." And I think most people have like that sort of vague recollection, but I feel like if you took those beats out, I don't think the same beats later would have landed. But I mean, I agree with you that like you could have front loaded this somewhere else.
It
But
made me want to go back and
at least
rewatch it. Like, rewatch a bunch of them. And I think there are probably some in there that I also missed. Some movies in the whole thing.
You haven't seen all the Marvel films?
Have
I
you
don't
seen
think
all
so.
19 of the Marvel films?
No, I don't think so.
What are you doing with your time?
Well, the first one you
Seeing
have to see
Infinity
because it's
War
the
and talking
most
about it later.
the most important one you have to watch is, of course, The Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
We got to start with the Hulk.
Here's
That's
ironically.
true,
That
actually,
should
yeah.
lead up to
It
it.
So
doesn't
then you
matter
can
that I
appreciate
haven't-
how much better The Incredible Hulk is, and then eventually appreciate the
If
fact
there
that
was a
it's still
Hulk
garbage.
movie made, I've seen it.
Okay. There you go. Eric Bana.
Period. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Bana. I saw
Eddie Norton.
Yeah.
little old Eddie Norton, who I think took way too much flack. I
Bill
think that he
Bixby
was
from
just
the
fine.
70s? Was this right? Was it Bill Bixby?
Yeah,
Lou
he-
Ferrigno.
Oh.
I mean, he
Yeah.
did. He fought. He battled Thor. He
did.
He teamed up with Daredevil, and then he died.
Yeah.
3 separate TV movies. I assume you've watched all of those.
Yeah.
I think so, maybe actually. It's just just not
It was
all.
the middle of the
not all
gas
current ones.
crisis. So you had to walk everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That TV movie, as cheesy as the Thor and Daredevil one are, when he dies at the end of the third movie, he falls from a helicopter, which is a terrible death with the Incredible Hulk. But he dies, and then he shrills back into Bill Bixby, and he's like, "I'm free." And then he dies. And that
Oh,
was it.
wow. Was that the actual end of the whole thing?
That was the end of the whole thing.
Wow. Do you think
Which-
we should do
I
that
like that.
again? That's how
That's
Avengers
right.
4 ends.
Yeah, I'm free.
Yeah.
Well, then, since we're talking about it, Amanda, lead us off. What'd you think of the Hulk and his
His impotence problem.
Well, he's scared.
His
like he's.
performance problem.
Yeah.
It's the
Performance
first
issues.
time he's
Yeah.
ever
Happens
been
to a lot of us.
beaten.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was fun. Here's the thing. I think that. Oh my God! I just blanked on his name. The actor that plays
Mark
the Hulk.
Mark Ruffalo.
He's just America's sweetheart.
He is
I just love him
adorable.
so much.
Yeah.
And I think he does a good Bruce Banner. And he wasn't in the, he didn't do a lot in the movie, but you just want to hug him every time he comes on. And he's like, "Come on, Hulk." And he like can't even make that work. And I'm like, "Buddy, you're so sad." So I liked it. I thought the Hulk in his like crazy ass Hulk suit was kind of the Iron Man Hulk suit was kind of
Oh,
weird.
yeah. Him and the Hulkbuster.
Hulk, is that what it is? Hulkbuster?
The Hulkbuster.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. And I like when he's like one of his arms gets ripped off, and he's just like it was like watching Buzz Lightyear like hit with something
Oh,
with
yeah.
with his own arm.
It still seems weird seeing the Hulk with like salt and pepper hair, though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it, though. I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something that came into my head because I was like expecting like Bruce Banner in the Hulkbuster suit. I was waiting for the image of the Hulk emerging
Busting
from
out
the.
of
That's
it?
what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that never came.
That's your question.
What do you
Yes.
guys think of all the the doctoring of the footage for the trailer.
Well, that's actually definitely something I wanted to bring up because I feel like this movie did something that I can't think of any other movie doing, which it's not only doctoring, so I'm kind of okay with a little bit of that. Like, for example, they took the extra stones out of
When
the glove
Cap-
at the end. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally on board with that. But there's that money shot in the trailer of all of them running towards the battle, and there's the Hulk there. That could only have been created for the trailer. There's no way that was a deleted scene or like a last minute change. Like, clearly the script was locked in. So they shot that as a deliberate mislead. How do you guys feel about that?
Sneaky, sneaky.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it because I think even if you don't see that exact scene, it still sells the tone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm cool with them if they want to tease you a little bit with that, with something that you're not actually seeing the film, but as long as it's conveying the same tone, I'm cool.
I think that I agree with you. I think that it's a gamble that they take because if you're going, I mean, it really does have to match up tonally. Like, for instance, the Suicide Squad trailer didn't at all match the film. And
Well,
it
the
was
Suicide Squad
worse.
film didn't match the film.
I know,
Like,
but do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do,
But I
yeah.
will say though, Frank, imagine if you had gone to see the Wonder Woman movie and that shot that you were looking forward to so much of the plane
Yes.
coming in hadn't been there in the movie. You would have been so mad.
I would have thrown my popcorn at everybody.
You would have. It would have been so uncomfortable. We would have had to like
Yeah.
take you out into the like crying, take you out of the theater.
A quick tangent. Anybody watch these things at AMC ever? Any of
Yes.
the movies?
Yeah.
So when you watch the they do the whole big like, hey, perks, welcome to AMC Stubs, and they do that little pre-intro right before the movie starts, and it's always like the one dude, the blonde-haired dude with his popcorn sitting there, and he just like whips his
Oh, he
popcorn
throws
up.
it so high.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I hate that guy. I hate him so much. That is such.
Can we get him out of here?
Well, now we'll never get sponsored by AMC.
I know, but it's such a stupid scene. I don't know why they decided like, yeah,
Wait,
just throw your popcorn around.
So, Trevor, how'd you feel about it though?
I don't know. It's interesting because I can't think of any other studio that actively does that too. Because it's like it's one thing when, like the first time I really noticed it was Spider-Man being cut from the running scene in Civil War.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so the trailer could have the end reveal of Spider-Man grabbing the shield. What's up, guys? And so it's like that's the first time I noticed, but I don't know. It's one thing. Like the Cap thing's one thing, like removing stones so you don't know, so that's
Yeah.
not spoiled. Because if you would have seen that actual shot, you would have been like, Thanos has everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because there's also that one scene too where it's Spider-Man in the trailer. It looks like he's through the wreckage. He's like standing like a big like Yahoo! He's swinging through all that rubble.
Oh, yeah.
And then you realize that he's actually got all the 4 tentacles. He's got Mantis. He's trying to save Drax and Star-Lord as well. A totally different context for that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you see it in the film.
I'm fine with that,
Yeah,
with
same.
changing the tone. But when it comes to like creating scenes just for trailers, it was the same feeling I had when a trailer comes out before reshoots. Like the Rogue One is the
Oh, yeah,
biggest
Rogue
example for
One,
me
yeah.
when it's a third of the scenes in the Rogue One trailer aren't in the movie. I think it like if you have those big money shots where you tamper the film for the trailer, I think you have to provide something even bigger than that so people aren't like so that's not what people are looking for.
So, did you feel like Infinity War delivered a moment like that was better or made up for it in the finale?
I mean, honestly, Thor appearing in the battlefield was.
my God.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
we had a 20-second ovation
But even
Yeah.
when
he's
that happened.
one-eyed the whole time. He's one-eyed. That's what's also like that's twice that they've doctored Thor's eye to stave off a reveal that he's
Yeah.
getting a new.
I love that one time it was to hide the fact he was going to lose an eye.
Yeah.
Second time, he was going to regain it.
I think it's just because they were tired of playing this game. I want the next trailer to just every other scene he has it and he doesn't have it, and it's like you get to figure it
Well,
out.
to jump ahead, like kind of annoyed for multiple reasons that we're never going to have Nick Fury and Thor talk eye patches.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, I guess not.
I mean, we do have the reality gym, so Thor can fake an eye patch.
He could.
Well, yeah, we could go back in time when he still has an eye patch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what I would love.
Or go back in time when he had 2 eyes.
I mean, if we're gonna have eye patch talk, can we talk about the lack of goatee talk? That's all I wanted in this movie
From,
was
Stark and
Strange
Strange?
and Stark to talk about their facial hair, to complement each other. Really,
Oh, they were too busy having an ego battle. Actually, that's not quite true because Doctor Strange is kind of above ego, but he was definitely doing his best to prove how smart he was.
yeah.
I loved all that.
I love
Do you
him
think he
so
was like
much.
trying to prove it? Because I feel like the whole first thing of his film was to try to leave that ego behind.
Mm-hmm.
And is it more just the reaction of seeing like what he views like his former self was?
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, his proto.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still such a douchebag.
Yeah, he's like,
I love that someone finally called Stark a douchebag.
I mean, there was that one line that I think really sold it for Strange. For me, was the "We're not all in your pocket, Stark."
Oh yeah, we don't all work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Solid.
Yeah.
so good.
Except he probably owns the hospital that
Yeah,
Rachel
probably.
McAdams still works at.
He's probably going to buy it, a la Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
I
that's
bought the bank.
And I guess you have to balance it, but to going back to like the Thanos Hulk fight, we see that. I mean, he just lays such a smackdown on the Hulk in that sequence. But then you see later in the film, I mean, that there are several points. Well, especially on Titan, where he's going against that crew, that they really kind of put him on the ropes a lot. So it's almost like they scale his power just for the needs of the scene.
That was a big thing for me, was how are they going to power balance everything? Because clearly, like, you have your S tier Hulk, Strange, Vision, Scarlet Witch, who are
Do you want to clarify what S tier is for the people who don't know what that means?
top tier.
There we go.
Definitely not me. I know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
S
Yeah,
tier.
I know
I
exactly
thought it
what
like an A tier, but
It's
no,
S tier is like super team. S tier
gotcha.
A, B, C, D, F.
For me, that's like in my mind, it's superhero math, right? Which is like, okay, one Hulk equals how many, how many,
What does one Hulk equal to you?
what does one Hulk equal to me?
Yes.
One Hulk, I mean, I think that Doctor Strange could beat the Hulk.
But that's a different kind of fight, though. That's
Yeah,
a
it is.
magic versus
Right,
phys-
but you
that's a
didn't
rock,
set
paper,
the
scissors
rules
battle.
for this. for
Yes,
this-
Cameron.
I was looking purely at like who could defeat who, but I think okay, if you're gonna do something like that, then I think like one Hulk in a physical battle could be taken down by one amped up Wakandan prince if his suit were all like full of power.
Okay, full of kinetic energy.
There it is.
Mhm.
Thank you for
when-
thank you for staying with me on this.
Yeah. When I say
Or like one. I'll just keep playing this stupid game, you guys, if you want. I think
Let's
like
go.
one Hulk versus one Black Widow, and let's put the spiders together: a Black Widow and a Spider-Man,
Okay.
and maybe something else.
an Ant-Man,
Yeah, and an Ant-Man.
just keep it all in the
I
family.
think all the insects. I think the insects could band together and take down the Hulk, as long as he's not impotent
Don't correct.
Wow.
at that moment.
When I say power balancing, I mean not weakening the top tier to make the bottom tier look stronger. I think they
Right.
did that a little bit with Strange, and they did that a lot with Star-Lord. I feel like Star-Lord could not handle himself at all in these fights, and anytime he did, I feel like it was just given to him.
Do you think that okay? You think like if we were to look at this, like he shouldn't have been able to handle himself well, and he could in the film, or you think he should be able to handle himself better than he was represented to in the film?
I think they made him stronger than he has been in previous films.
Like,
Okay, because usually he's just a dude with a gun.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Which fight do you think specifically he like held his own more than you would have thought?
I mean, when he's fighting Thanos, he drops a bomb on him, but I mean, I
feel
don't
like
know
the-
the strength of a space bomb.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I actually thought that the balance was done pretty well. Like the way I look at Star-Lord is he plays dirty, and so even when he's fighting Thanos, he's just jumping in for a quick hit, and so he's using gadgets. Even when he fought Iron Man, like the only reason that basically came out to a stalemate was that he's able to use like his toys against Iron Man, which he just wasn't
And he's
expecting.
basically just pretty quick, right? Like if you go back
Yeah.
and it's like the opening sequence in Guardians 1 is a pretty impressive. He's pretty quick
Mhm.
in that fight, right?
Yeah.
So it's really all that he does. He like hops around and he's sassy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's so sassy.
He's so sassy.
Sassy.
It was just like the way that he was so fast and efficient with the Hulk. I felt like I was like, shouldn't he be just as
Right?
ruthless
Yeah,
and
that's what I
efficient
mean.
against-
Is they scale Thanos up and down depending on who he's fighting.
Cool,
And
but
it-
that
it-
was Power Stone. Do you? Oh well, in my view of it, he fought the Hulk because he had the Power Stone. That was the one thing
Oh,
he just
okay.
amped up. And it's also like one focus. I'm not so sure. Sans Gauntlet that he could stand up to Thor
Yeah.
or the Hulk.
I
Oh,
also,
yeah, I
I also
agree.
think that like when he fights the Hulk in the beginning, the Hulk is not a strategic thinker. And Thanos is like Thanos would actually be trained. Like you can imagine.
Need him in the face.
Yeah, like it's like you can imagine Thanos being like that's basically just a boxing match.
Yeah.
And Thanos actually has the technique to go up because of it. He's like, 'cause he's very strategic in how he hits the Hulk, right? He goes like that first shot, like
The collarbone, yeah.
the collarbone, like just he knows exactly where to hit him to help take him down. I think Trevor, you're right. The Power Stone probably helped with that. But I believe that in that fight that it was more of a boxing match, whereas later on he was constantly hampered. He couldn't really physically fight that much, and he got his punches in like on Titan. For the most part, he was relying on the gauntlet, which was constantly being undermined by them constantly keeping his hand open and constantly getting new things thrown at him. It was still what, like a 7-8 on one fight.
Do you have to keep your fists closed for the gauntlet to work?
I think he has to close it for it to work, right?
Well, he has to at least have the mind to use it. Like if you're distracted, I imagine.
It doesn't just kick in.
Yeah, because
Frank?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it's always been the clenched fist that has been used, and I feel like this is the first time that I really saw anybody really say like, well, all right, as long as he doesn't close his fist, then the gauntlet's not going to activate.
Yeah, those are the rules.
I thought that was cool.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Can I ask too while we're here?
No.
We're at the Frank question corner.
Yeah, while we're in the Frank question corner. So, can we get a quick recap of the stones and what they do? Like Power Stone. Is that just physical strength?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much.
just-
It
that
has
was-
the ability to
It's just energy, right?
Yeah.
It's
pretty
like
much just blow up a
huge
planet.
source of
It's-
energy.
And
it's
that's the
energy.
Guardians 1 stone.
Yeah, okay, but you can't just blow up a planet with that. You need other things to boost it, right? Or can you blow up a whole planet with just a Power Stone?
That's what they were pitching in Guardians 1 is if
the
Ronan hit
strength of-
if he tapped his hammer halberd on the
What?
Is
halberd?
that the name of his like?
Is that like the brand of stone that he's carrying?
No,
around?
No,
that's
his-
what the
it's
medieval
like
big
it's like the
mace.
swords are called
that's what that
Lightbringer and
thing
Heart
is.
Eater. And
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what his weapon
You're
is.
getting
It's called a halberd.
fact checked right now.
Okay.
I believe.
I don't
it's a
think
thing.
RuneScape lied to me that badly.
Snopes is in the case.
But I thought it sounded like it was just the name of
Oh,
it. Like
sorry,
he had
no.
named it. I'm just like, damn, like Ronan's. I mean, it's Marvel, so everything has a name for something.
Okay, so
Stormbreaker. Really hoping that was Yarn Bjorn.
Heart
Were you
Eater.
feeling me on that, Frank?
so power
Do you
is
wanna
what
say that I'm
color?
right?
No, I couldn't look it up. I couldn't
Oh,
spell
my
it. Figure it out.
Power is purple.
HALBI.
Power is purple, and it's energy,
yes.
strength and energy. So one is I'm the most familiar with the time one
Yep.
because I love Doctor Strange.
That's green.
Would you
And-
marry him? Oh, it's too late.
That's why they have trial separations. Just kidding. Love you, Mike. You're listening to this. But that one. So, are there limitations on how far you can go back in time
The
using the
medieval
time stone?
Not as far as I know.
And that
I
one's
mean,
green.
That one's green.
So there's no limitation.
Not as far as I
Not
know.
that we've
Is that how
come
we're going to
across.
get everybody back in the sequel?
I don't think so.
Maybe, but there's also been some stuff with some on-set photos with Scott Lang and the OG crew.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that the first time I saw those photos, because that's all we have to go on is shots from the cast on location dressed in the Avengers, like Avengers 1 costumes,
Okay.
and
Oh,
looking
that's
like Avengers
right.
1.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's one that came out recently, or I don't know if it's been out for a while, Frank, but with Scott Lang, they show Paul Rudd
Yeah.
with him. And
And he's
last
got
time I
some kind of
checked,
blue thing on his hand, and everybody else has kind of got it taped up on theirs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, okay. I want to come back to that because I want to hear what you guys think is going to happen in the next movie, and maybe you already know, and it's going to go with the books, and I don't know. So there's the Soul Stone, which is the one that Gamora died for.
Right.
But
Orange.
for me, it's orange. For me, that one is like in Captain Planet when they all are going through their powers, and then there's that one kid with
Heart.
the monkey who's like heart, and you're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck does that even mean?
There's a whole episode about that.
Yeah, but like so the Soul Stone is what?
Frank,
Yeah,
mind?
you could like Adam Warlock in the comics wore it, and what it would do is that he could use that on somebody and take their soul into the gem. Is gem in the comics, but more stones here in the movies. But that their soul would exist in this plane, and it was kind of like, hey, this is a chance for everybody to kind of be at peace. So a lot of the villains that he dealt with, he would take them into the Soul Stone, and they just kind of be more rehabilitated in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did something horrible happen where like they all escape from the Soul Stone, like when the ghosts come out of the Ghostbuster thing?
No, nothing ever bad like him. I mean, even Adam Warlock, when he got killed by a future version of himself. Jim Starlin in the 70s, man, wrote some trippy stuff. But his future stuff takes him takes him into the Soul Stone.
Okay. And okay.
And so that's my thought at the end, where you see Thanos talking to the young Gamora. He is within the Soul Stone at that moment. And I would think like it's a great backdoor to bring Gamora back, is that her soul is within the stone.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And you could bring her back that way.
Does he have to consciously put somebody's soul in the Soul Stone?
Well, I mean, in the comics, it was always Adam Warlock making that choice to
Right.
do it. So, but I mean, in the films, I don't know if they're trying to do an exact replica of that. So I don't know if
That's
that,
interesting, that idea.
Because they also made the point that no one's ever really used the Soul Stone before, so he could not know it. Because my thought is that's where everyone is.
I was gonna ask.
Is
yeah.
they're trapped in the Soul Stone.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that's how they're gonna have to get them out.
That's interesting.
Except for Loki and Heimdall.
Heimdall hurts so much. I still think Gamora's gone for good though. Just because of shooting schedule and how Zoe Saldana is going to be on the Avatar set for the next 15 years.
So
yeah, great.
Believe it when I see it.
James Cameron, like, throwing shade on the Marvel films. And
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
come on, dude. All you're doing is giving us Avatar stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to share her, that's for sure.
Ugh, yeah.
no, Cameron's the one person on the planet who's super excited. There's more Avatar coming along.
Sultan.
Cameron, I literally was talking about this, and I've heard this mentioned before, like online. Can you name 3 characters from Avatar?
Yes. What's her name? Her name is. Give me a second.
It's the highest grossing film worldwide of all time.
I can't name a single.
Nagiri is Zoe Saldana.
I don't think so.
No.
Nigiri is
It's
sushi.
It's sushi.
Isn't it
Nigiri is
Natiri?
Nagini. Sorry. No.
No, isn't it-
Nagini is a snake from Harry Potter.
That's
Yes.
that one. Oh my god.
Isn't it
what's her name?
Natiri? I want to say.
That sounds more.
It
right.
sounds closer.
So far the
Jake.
answer is no.
Jake Sully.
Okay, Jake Sully.
Mhm. There we go. Main guy.
Nagiri
Yeah.
/
Main girl.
Nagini.
Main girl. And then
have one.
Taduk
Shrimp.
Moktau.
Shrimp sushi.
Who?
Taduk Moktau is the name of the giant flying banshee.
Is that a character?
That's a
Is that
character.
a character?
Yeah, it's
it'd be
a
like, it'd be like,
character.
name all the characters in Empire Strikes
Is
Back.
Garfield
and I
a
go
character?
Tauntaun. Like,
It's like saying Chewie, not
no,
Tauntaun.
Chewie's an actual character.
Yeah, and so is Taduk Moktau.
I don't think so.
You should give
I'm
him
not
credit for that,
I'm
but
not
not
gonna-
for
I'm not gonna give you-
Nagiri.
I'm not
'cause
gonna
we
Yeah,
don't-
okay.
we're
Yeah,
not
you
solid
haven't
on
actually got that right.
So
you,
far you have 2.
Nagiri?
That's what I said. I'm off. Yeah.
Anyway.
That's shrimp sushi.
Just know that Cameron failed. No,
Yeah.
it was,
No, that's fine. I accept this
Neytiri.
Okay. That's
That's
Not
all right.
bad.
That was great. I would know. That was a better night.
So, Trevor, to answer your question, no, he couldn't.
No, I cannot.
Just one more Navi? One more?
Yeah. Yeah. What was Sigourney Weaver's character's name? What
Not
was
a-
Giovanni Ribisi's character's name?
I think they
what
said
was
it
Stephen
once.
Lang's character's name?
No, Scarface.
What was the name of the element that they were?
Unobtainium.
Yeah.
I got that one.
Because that's
My favorites are Unobtainium and New Element from Iron Man 2.
Oh, that's true.
Those are your favorite
You've
elements.
created New Element.
It could have even been like Starconium or something like that, like
No.
Einsteinium or whatever those like weird.
I mean,
made-up
I'm
ones
sure
that
he
they have.
renamed it after himself shortly
I feel
after.
like he would have named it after Pepper, actually.
Peponium.
Because that's a sort of like over the top gesture that he would try and do, especially at that point in the MCU. It'd be like, see, I'm a good guy, Pepper. I named a new element after you.
Let's talk about Tony Stark. Like,
Wait, hold on. I didn't.
oh
hear.
no, oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No,
Sorry.
we're
Getting-
3 stones in. That's right.
So close. Okay, so what do we have left?
Space, mind, and reality.
Space, mind, and reality. So okay, go.
Space is the weirdest one because it's the
What's-
one that can kind of do everything.
What color is it?
Blue.
Blue.
That's
It's-
the
the
cosmic
Tesseract.
cube, the Tesseract.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
Because we know it allows you to teleport through space. Because it does that in this. It does that in the first Avengers.
And we now find out it did that in Captain America 1 because that's
Right.
what happened to Red Skull.
Red Skull. I mean, I guess is it implied then in the first Avenger that it's all the weapons are just based off of the energy from it, or is it like
It
drawing
would be
energy
cool to
from somewhere
see
else in
that,
space?
that everyone that died from that.
Are there just a bunch of Nazis in space when they got shot with those things and they explode? Well done. That's a.
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
just.
Is that every time? So every time Thanos did like this, well, you can't, you're not gonna be able to see it. When he did that hand movement where it's like these aren't the droids you're looking for, that hand movement, and everything changed. Was that space?
That was
That was
reality.
reality. That's
That
the,
was
that's the
reality.
red.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
the ether from
which
Thor: Dark
I
World.
definitely feel like it was used. It had very different properties in this than from Thor: The Dark World, where that almost functioned more like
Space.
where
Yeah.
it opened up portals between different realms. But it wasn't like it was actually altering reality. Well, I guess.
Well, that
Well,
was-
it was a little bit though, because like stuff
Yeah.
was coming into Earth from like Asgard.
Well, I guess it's like sort of like
Asgard. It's where all the ads are.
overpowering. I guess reality would be how that plan would have worked. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's like reality with the power to alter reality spread out through reality. I don't know.
That one hurts my head.
But
Yeah.
also at the same time, like I always thought that space and power should have been switched because it's like because isn't blue power in the comics anyway?
I think so.
But it's also the whole purpose of it is powering Hydra's guns.
Yeah. You
And
can't-
then Guardians introduced the purple one in space. It's like I get its power and how they utilize it, but it's just like it felt like it could have
you
been.
kind of feel like that maybe that's what they originally intended because it's just referenced as the Tesseract.
Yeah.
But I guess, but the Tesseract is a term in general used to describe transporting through space. Because I just suffered through reading A Wrinkle in Time. It's such a terrible book. And
I'm gonna tell Oprah you said that.
you go and tell her. I will walk down to Own, just down the street from here. I'll knock on the door. I'm like, Oprah, the book was shit.
They're gonna be like, which one? We've had a book club going for 2 decades, sucker.
All of them.
Oh no.
No, she's a lovely lady with great recommendations.
Okay,
And
so
the mind is in Vision.
And also gave Pietro and Wanda their powers,
Which is
as
also
Quicksilver and Scarlet
A
Witch.
little weird.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The mind. Okay, the mind. When you said the mind is in Vision, I was like, he's speaking in code.
Yeah. Well, because because in
So-
the first in the first Avengers movie, not the first Avenger, to clarify, it allows you to control someone else's mind, which the Vision doesn't have that power.
Or doesn't use that power.
I don't think he has that power at all, right?
We've never heard it. I mean, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have it, but it's never been something that we've been shown that he has.
Now, I forget what are the Vision's powers in the comics, and he doesn't because he doesn't have the Infinity Stone in his head in the comics, right?
No, he has a gem in his
Yeah.
head, but that's just more that he can conduct solar energy from.
It's for
And it's
aesthetic
really
purposes.
pretty.
Yeah.
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 It's a child of the 80s.
He can control his own density, so he can become, just like a wisp or as hard as a diamond, as he describes himself. And then he can conduct through his gem on his forehead through solar energy from there.
So okay.
It's pretty well like the powers we see him utilize in the movie is a pretty good representation of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how that connects to the mind gem.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I assume that they gave him that because it's just a way to kind of build up the storyline of it, and since the fact that the Vision of the comic books already had a gem in his head that wasn't any really
Like,
related
oh,
to.
now we don't need to change the design.
No, yeah.
That's
So it
perfect.
could be like,
It's
all
all
right,
good.
we can have it in here, and it's a nice nod to the Infinity Gauntlet. Let's just keep building it up. So
Well, and also because that was going to be Ultron's body in the movie. In Age of Ultron, that what Vision was going to be his unbreakable, unstoppable body.
Yeah.
Not so
But then
much
they
for that.
yeah, but then they put the Mind Stone into him, and I guess like the way I always saw it is like, oh, it gave him a mind because the Mind Stone like mixing with the AI and everything.
Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense.
yeah, but it was like the Vision. I don't know. I guess I'm always a bit of a sucker for him since the comic book, so I'm predisposed to liking that character. But in terms of by this point, since we've only seen him like 1.5 movies, did you until this one? Did you buy the relationship that had been built over that bit of time with him and Scarlet Witch?
I
so
did
that
not.
it really hits at the end.
I didn't remember what each of them did when they first. It took me a second to be like, who are you? Red face guy?
I also noticed murmurs in the second time viewing. There were a lot of murmurs. Of
We
like,
couldn't hear murmurs in
yeah,
the first one.
that's true.
for
Everyone
all
was
the
cheering
wooing.
too much. Because she kept calling him Viz. And I don't
Yeah.
think people could understand her saying
Yeah.
that. And so a lot of people around me are like, who is that?
With
Are
her
we supposed
weird,
to know
indistinct
that?
Yeah.
accent.
Did
Yeah.
also everyone think in that first scene that they just let her drop the accent?
Yes. I was really hoping they did.
Which was fine with me. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm willing just to let you let that one go, Elizabeth. I don't need to hear it.
Yeah.
Because she definitely has tapered it back, for sure.
because like when I like anytime you read like the comic books, I'm sure you always kind of maybe just put your own way that this person sounds in your head as you're reading it. And for Scarlet Witch, anytime I read the comic book, I never had her with any sort of Eastern European accent or accent.
Ukrainian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just in the cartoons, anytime she'd show up in any like the bad '90s Marvel cartoons, she'd always have this thick Eastern European accent. You're like, ugh. And
Which is interesting because I don't think Pietro ever had the accent, or at least in X-Men Evolution.
None
he
of
was,
them did in
he was
X-Men
the like
Evolution.
New
Yeah.
Jersey.
No, but he definitely had it in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, oh yeah.
boy.
Do you guys think he's coming back?
No.
No? No Quicksilver fans?
No.
Hoping everyone's coming back?
I mean, would that be amazing though if we get to Avengers 4 and the one character they bring back across all of the MCU was Quicksilver?
The one whose death is actually stuck?
Yeah.
Like the one Avenger's like, no, Quicksilver sucked, guys.
Don't you like Quicksilver, or you
I
like
do.
Silver Surfer?
No,
You
I like Quicksilver. I've
Mm.
always had a soft spot for that guy too,
Yeah.
but sort of see him. But he never really had his time to shine in Age of Ultron. So when he got
No.
killed off, I'm like, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Because I would have liked to seen him grow into something more. But
You know what I want in Avengers 4 is after they bring everyone back, if they do, to like have the lineup of at the very end, they're all lined up like congratulating each other, and Phil Coulson just walks up and like, "You're back too," and he's like, yeah, I just came back. I've been dead this whole time."
Yeah.
Don't
Thank
mind
you
me.
for avenging
Soulstone,
me.
right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Crazy. What robot hand?
Yeah.
well, if you look at it, the film so far, I feel like it's Thanos. Thor gets a lot of attention on him, but also Tony Stark. I think of the three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because
yeah.
this has been his story.
But even he brings up the fact that it's been in his head since New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like
6 years
basically-
ago or 8 years ago in Spider-Man timeline.
I guess the directors finally acknowledged that was a mistake.
Oh, they did.
They acknowledged, yeah, they got that wrong.
Yeah, there was an interview with the Russos, and they're like, "Is it like which one? Who's right?" And I'm like, "Well, we're right because
Yeah.
we finish it."
Yeah. But when Thanos tells Stark, like, "Oh, you've been in my head too,"
You're not the
it's
only
like-
one cursed with
Yeah.
knowledge.
Ooh, such a good-
Yeah. What is it? Why does he say
He
that?
just couldn't
He
get that
nuked
goatee
his
out of his
he
head.
nuked his ship.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he killed off his Chitauri.
Yeah, but
Couldn't get that pretty face out of his head.
No.
But do you
I've
think
been
like,
waiting
can't
for
either.
you.
I guess it felt like such an inside reference when he said it that I was like, am I missing something? Because
Well, I
of the
think-
way that he said it.
it's just the same that we haven't seen much of Thanos except for those like brief cameos?
Yeah.
Because you see it's kind of really colored the way that Tony Stark's been portrayed since the first Avengers film, but you never really see how it's affected Thanos at all. So when he gives you that little bit, like, I've been haunted too, like, cool. I had no idea that you
Okay.
have been. So
I just
sure.
kind of read that as like Legend of Stark had made it outside of Earth and into the galaxy.
It also because one of my big concerns with especially like galactic superhero stuff is why is it always Earth? And I think that kind of connection of like he's been thinking about Stark for a while actually gives him a reason to like besides the Infinity Stones like be on Earth and like know about Earth really.
Yeah.
Because I guess if we retcon Avengers, if we base what happened in Avengers off of this new movie, off of Infinity War, then I guess that initial invasion was his attempt to do what he's done in other places, which is to go into Earth and
Yeah.
kill
Destroy
half the
half, yeah.
population. I don't know why he would have gone that particular route. Maybe he must have maybe known a little bit about. I mean, I guess you could say that because he was working with Loki, he knew of at least Thor's presence on Earth, and maybe that was enough for him to be like, there might just be enough there to hold me back. So let's try something a little different this
and the
time.
Tesseract's there. I think
That's
it's a
true.
twofer, but it does really kind of recolor Avengers, and you kind of put it in the back of your head because you just are looking at it as like he's going to get his Infinity Stone, he's going to get that, and letting Loki take the planet for whatever reason. But it does sort of recolor it. Just like, was his goal like were they going to kill off half of the planet if Avengers didn't succeed?
Yeah, and I guess
Because he also gives Loki the scepter.
right.
So it feels weird for why is Thanos giving away one of his stones to somebody that, I mean, he doesn't know how well he can
Yeah,
trust him.
he's not even a child of Thanos.
Yeah, he's just some dude, and he gave him a stone to run around with. But are you sad? Well, actually, finish talking with Tony Stark in terms of his course over the first part of the story. Since we know we're getting to the conclusion, did you like where Tony Stark went through the course of this film?
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was, of all the people that you would have thought would have been like putting themselves out there and being the one that was kind of the driving force and self-sacrificial, I would never have guessed Tony Stark would have been that person. You know, based on just like the other films coming through, because he has still always kind of been an arrogant asshole, right?
But
like self-serving. I liked it. I'm saying that I thought it was good. I'm saying though that the character's come a long way from Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
One, you know, to who he is now, and I didn't like not buy it or not believe it. Like all the conflicts he was having with the other characters, the ones that he was, the conflicts he was having, and with the characters he was having them with, I didn't second guess. It made sense to me, you know, and so I thought that was really nice. And I knew I was invested because when he got stabbed, I went, like I inhaled, and I was like, oh, I guess I give a shit. I guess I care.
I think what I liked about him in this was you can start to see that he's aware of his ability to make mistakes. And he's made some huge mistakes that have had huge repercussions. One being Ultron, two being feuding with Cap, and the realization that he does kind of need him. So I believe that he would want to like take the fight off Earth just because he wouldn't want to do like Sokovia again, but also be afraid that he would fuck up. And he does. From his perspective, they lose, which I think we can acknowledge that Strange saw this coming, right? This is the one. This is the one.
Yeah.
He knew the only way to do it because there was no way he would ever
willingly give up the soul.
Yeah,
the time
Yeah,
stone.
actively said, I will let you and Spider-Man die.
Yeah.
And myself die before I hand over this stone.
And I believe
And then he's
him.
just like, wait, sorry, I like my buddy Tony now. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Really
yeah,
digging the goatee.
I didn't think that as a moment of like,
Goatee
oh,
brother.
I like this guy too much. Like that's the only. He knew that was the only way.
And he
Yeah.
said it was the only way.
We're in
there's
the
a-
end game
one,
now.
Yeah, in the end game now. Ooh.
I though didn't realize from like looking at I didn't realize that I didn't even think like, oh, he's seen this already and he knows that. I really did think, I was like, well, that's kind of weird. I'm like, he's gonna let the whole Earth suffer
whole
because
galaxy.
because of Iron Man,
The whole
like, I don't get it.
universe.
I also
So-
I believe that he would let that happen too. That he would have such confidence, like not confidence in himself, but that he trusts so much in the plan, sort of.
The vision that he saw.
Right,
Yeah.
but I guess I hadn't even thought about the vision that he saw. I literally was like, well, that was, when I was watching it, I was like, that seems uncharacteristic, but we'll move past it. So it kind of makes me feel better knowing that he literally saw something different.
Actually, so along those lines, I'm
And he's
curious.
also gone too. So it's not
Yeah.
going to impact the narrative of like, oh, but Doctor Strange knows.
Yeah.
And like he can sort of guide it. He's gone. He's off the table too.
I'm sad.
So Amanda, off that point, I'm curious for everyone. Did you find at any point a character behaved like atypical to their own persona, like acted out of character as to like, necessitate the plot, or did you feel like they did a pretty good job of keeping everyone on track with who they had been defined up to that point?
To me, I thought that moment, but then when he was a little cryptic about it, I was like, okay, there must be something else there. I just didn't know what it was. As far as Doctor Strange goes, I'm trying to think of anybody else. I don't know.
It
I'm back and
becomes-
forth.
Sorry, Frank.
Go ahead, Trevor.
It
Thriller? Is that
kind
a
of
Hulk Hogan impression?
Trevor. Hey, Trevor.
like you see like coming off Thor Ragnarok and putting him with the Guardians and everything that's happened, like it was such a natural fit, but it's also like, but it seems that they've sort of sacrificed the roots of the character in their own universe with the Kenneth Branagh sort of foundation and the Shakespearean tragedy of it all. Like his people are dead hours ago, but
Yeah.
Asgard. This is hours.
Yeah.
Hours after Ragnarok.
I brought that up. He lost his whole family, minus his mom. He lost his whole family within a week.
Yeah,
Really.
and so it's sort of like I like the new tone and it fits Thor, so, like Ragnarok fit that character and that character just worked so much better than any of the other two. But it's also like he's gone through so much.
There is one character, a Rocket.
Yeah,
thought,
Rocket's
like
still
Rocket.
left.
Well, yeah, but I thought that like I didn't understand why he was suddenly like latched onto Thor. I don't know why he was suddenly like, oh, kindred spirits, and I don't know why he didn't correct him when he called him a rabbit, because he hates it when people call him a raccoon.
I don't think he knows what a rabbit is.
Yeah.
But wouldn't he have gotten offended? Because every time you call him anything that he doesn't understand, he gets offended.
I think it was Gamora had a throwaway line before he jumped on the ship of like, you're just doing this because you're scared of Thanos.
Yeah.
So I think he was masking his fear by just latching onto Thor.
And I mean, as a survivor, because that's
Yeah.
like what kind of Rocket is best at in a lot of ways. He is always looking out for himself, but he has he likes people enough to kind of join up along with them.
Yeah.
I could see him lashing out at Thor because Thor shows up and immediately establishes, oh, this guy is
Dominance, right?
yeah, like Dominus, like this guy actually should be taken seriously. Like he knows what he's doing. He's very powerful. He's
going to the
incredibly
planet.
handsome.
Yeah, he's going to the planet that Rocket wanted to go to.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
all the weapons.
Yeah, he's going to the weapon making planet, and so I see what you're saying. But it's also, but like again, like to that same point, like Rocket's probably the best person to illuminate the little subtleties that they've carried over through movies and built up with him having that prosthetic eye and him and Bucky's little thing of just like,
Oh my
I'm getting
God.
that arm.
Oh, that was
Every
real
movie's
fun.
Yeah,
had
that was
something,
funny.
his
Yeah.
weird fascination with prosthetics.
When Bucky picked him up and they spun around shooting, it's might be like my second favorite scene in the movie.
But that, yeah, I liked that little bit because it shows like a consistency. Even though like we're just talking about like so much has changed from Iron Man to here, and so much has been dropped in continuity errors, but like the characterizations have not. And they really like to see Marvel have faith in that and allow characters to interact and just make it be more dynamic, but kind of interacting the way they always have was really impressive.
Well, that one scene with him, Thor and Rocket talking, and Thor's just breaking down about how he's lost everybody and he's 1,500 years old, and more than twice that have tried to kill him. I thought that was just a really great scene. And then even just Rocket's like quiet response as Thor's walking away. I could lose a lot.
Yeah.
I really love that
And he
moment.
does. He loses Groot.
He does lose Groot.
Oh, I liked Groot's arm becoming the handle of the
Yes,
Thor's,
that was really cool.
Stormbreaker.
That was cool.
And that's why it was a nice play off like why having him be such like a jerky teenager.
Yeah.
But then seeing Thor and his heroism just kind of motivates him to step up. And get his
But that's
act
again, that's Groot's thing too. Is Groot like you're kind of worried that Groot's gonna like follow through with the plan, and then he does at the last minute, like baby Groot with the bomb, and sort of big Groot's adult Groot's sort of like absent-mindedness throughout the final act of Guardians. Like it's a recurring thing of his. Like I'm not sure Groot's up to the task, guys. And now he's the handle of Stormbreaker.
Which is very cool.
It is really cool.
I like that. And it made sense, which I liked.
Yeah. I do want to jump back a moment, too, because I think one of my all-time favorite scenes in the whole movie was that little conversation between Rocket and Thor. I think, like, I love Hemsworth for obvious reasons, but that moment, he actually got to do some really serious acting, because that is actually very hard to do that. You can see the pain, and you can see him trying. He is naturally funny, but he's carrying a lot with him, and that he's throwing away those jokes, but you can see the pain behind it, and that he's really trying to just like, nope, I just got to keep going.
Yeah, I feel like Thor's been a character that's been so well served, like since with Ragnarok, and this just has really just amped up his character a lot.
Also, if my math serves, 1,500 years old, twice as many people have tried to get. Thor's killed like 3,000 people.
That seems kind of low.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, for living that long. And just, I mean, look at even just the first two movies, he goes up
Yeah.
against all the frost giants. He goes up against
The rock people.
Yeah, like the elves and the rock people and stuff like that.
Like
Now-
he pretty much killed the population of the ice planet, of the ice giants.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen Thor Ragnarok once, and I remember the final sting at the end was them coming across the ship. Now, was that like the final scene of the movie, or was that a post-credit sting, right?
Yeah, post
That was,
credits.
that was very
So
last
we don't
post-credit.
necessarily like. There could have been some time between those two things, right? Like it didn't necessarily have to be hours later, right?
No, because they're still trying to figure out where to go. Because the
okay.
question is, he's like, okay, now we have Asgard with us. Where do we want to go? He turns to Meek. He's like, Meek, where are you from? And then Meek's dead.
Oh yeah.
And then they're like, we're going to Earth. And then like
And then it
right
shows up.
after that is when the
Okay, I
ship
couldn't
comes.
remember
Yeah.
when.
At most, it's they set sail in the morning, and now it's evening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Man, he's had a real shit day.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like there has to be a little bit of gap, so there's wiggle room to see how Korg and Valkyrie and everybody, they are either they go off on their own exploring something, so they're not there, or whatever happens.
Well,
to
they're in the distress call, which we couldn't hear in the slightest bit on our first showing. The distress call says half of us got away.
Oh, did they say? Okay, I missed
Yeah.
that even the second time.
Okay, yeah, it's very quiet, unnecessarily quiet.
Yeah.
Where they say our escape pods have made it out, but the half of us are still like stuck here.
Okay, that's
And so I
interesting.
assume
So that means Korg and Valkyrie are taking point on protecting the
Yeah.
people
And
on that end.
I could see that actually does kind of make sense. I could see Thor being like, okay, you guys go and protect the people, and I could see him like, Loki, Heimdall, we're all gonna stay here and we're gonna fight.
because I did see one one of the other gladiators. You could see his body on the ground. The one that
Okay.
had like the
like
mask
the
and the
strainer
9
mask.
holes.
Yeah. Okay, I saw him too.
So they do make reference that they're still there.
Oh, that's cool.
When he does, yeah, and he does say he killed half my people are dead when he's having his moment.
Yeah. What'd you guys think about Loki's death? Do you think that was the right kind of like send off for that character?
It's sad to think Thor's last words to his brother are "You're a terrible brother."
You
That
really
fits,
are
though.
the worst.
Yeah,
that
you really
fits,
are the
that-
worst brother.
Because he doesn't actually mean that, and Loki knows that. That butting heads thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if they do put out in Phase 4 or whatever another Thor film with Taika Waititi and him, the comic books have already done like Ragnarok and bringing them back like with J. Michael Straczynski. So it's easy to bring all the Asgardians back if you wanted to, since it's all about death and rebirth. So
I think that's a death that's gonna stick, though. I really think Loki and Heimdall are gone because they really gave him an actual proper death scene, and there's an element of like finality to his character arc too, of like when he's talking himself up and he says like son of Odin, or it's Odin's son. He looks at Thor. It's like he's acknowledging his heritage and his place in the world right before he dies.
And showing that the heroism has stayed.
Yeah.
It wasn't fleeting. It wasn't anything. He died trying to kill Thanos, like
Yeah.
taking a swing at him.
I think that's gonna stick, and I think part of my problem with the end, I guess we can talk about the ending now, the fact that everyone dies, was that up until that point, I genuinely believed that anyone who had died would stay dead. So Loki was gone, Heimdall was gone. I could believe too that they would kill off Gamora and they could still do a Guardians movie and have that be a huge part of the plot.
Yeah.
Of Peter losing yet like the only other person he's loved other than his mom, he loses someone else again and having to deal with that. I would have
Probably have
believed that.
flashbacks.
Yeah, they could do like flashbacks. I would have believed all that, but then as soon as they killed off all of the Guardians, they killed off Spider-Man, they killed off Black Panther, I'm like, well, all of them have to come back now. And I think that just I lost my emotional investment in this story because I'm like, well, they'll have to come back. So now it's a
Yeah.
curiosity how they come back, but I'm not emotionally tied to it.
Spider-Man's
literally-
death was brutal, though, man.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Well, that's
There you can go.
well. Obviously, Spider-Man's is the the most brutal to watch. Just like he's Spider-Man, but he is a child in that moment.
Yeah.
What's the second worst? I feel that's the real debate.
Bucky hit me hard. Just because he was also the first one to go, and you
Yeah.
do get that moment with Cap like on his knees, like feeling through the dust, and also Anthony Mackie,
Falcon,
Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
Because
especially Don Cheadle's
yeah,
like,
Don Cheadle's
"Sam?"
like looking for him.
I thought, and he's not like one of my. I thought Groot
Yeah.
because you saw that reflected on Rocket so hard.
Well, and Groot's kind of innocent,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I think that's why
Yeah.
people relate to him so
yeah,
much.
but we've also seen him go once before, so that one was like, okay.
All right, way to
T'Challa.
negate everything I just said.
'Cause-
Yeah, right?
I'm dead inside. That's why it works so well.
'cause you see,
Yeah, T'Challa.
yeah, you see T'Challa with Okoye, and I was expecting Okoye to go,
Yeah.
and then it's T'Challa, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
but
that was rough too.
That means Denai Guerrero is an Avenger now.
Yeah. I just want to know that Shuri's okay.
Oh, we
Yeah,
never-
she's
never
she's a
see.
big question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is curious. With the filmmakers, I mean, they keep pretty much the original core plus War Machine and Rocket and Okoye. But curious to see why they picked those.
But also,
Yeah.
Donnie Chead's is the unofficial seventh Avenger. Like, Rhodey has been
around.
since the beginning. So it's
Yeah.
like, even it is fitting. Yeah, Rocket's more the odd man out.
Rocket, I think it's just because it's only the leading species of the planet that he kills, right?
What?
Interesting.
That where he cuts it in half.
So
He's not
do you-
cutting in half
Not
all the
all
animals
animals.
because that's the resource. I
Question.
think he sees Rocket as a resource, not a person.
So, Cameron, does the escaped
Oh,
Asgardians and any planet Thanos has already curtailed, do you think they were impacted by the gauntlet? By this?
Oh, that's a good question.
I probably because I don't think he put like bracket with that except planets.
Yeah,
I've
he's been
already
thinking about this
cut
for
in
a
half.
long
He went and
time.
programmed
Bracket.
it in an Excel file.
Yeah, I mean command
In his
file.
head. He's got it in his head, just a vision.
I only know how to program in Excel.
Can you
It's not even
program in
program.
Excel?
It's not even program. I just want to do equations in
Can
Excel.
you just open run terminal or run command?
What?
Equals some parentheses.
It's
Open
the
parentheses.
two
Yeah.
like computer to get into the computer. It's the terminal and I'm not gonna go into it.
Files are in the computer.
Inside the computer?
Yeah, I mean, because I was wondering about that too, and on my drive over here, I thought about Rocket still being there, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's because he's an animal. He's not the lead species of the planet.
Okay.
So like, because that made me question like why Groot and not Rocket, but on Groot's planet, the tree people are the main
The
species.
dominant species. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So I'm trying to remember who's left now. So it's
OG
Tony.
Avengers.
Cap-
On Titan, it was Iron
Nebula.
Man and Nebula,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Who's robot. So that's why I assume that's why she stayed. Is she's now more robot than person.
But also, I was thinking about it. It's because I was also thinking about this with Thor and Loki. Like his whole thing is to curtail half, so kill one brother.
Mm-hmm.
Loki killed Nebula or killed Gamora. Nebula's safe.
Nebula's
He's
safe,
the
yeah.
opposite Two-Face.
I mean, just he could have actively done that, but I also just think that's sort of like
He's half
Opposite
face.
two faces, one face. This is
No.
nerd math.
Just a normal murderer.
Yeah, no. Instead of doing everything in twos, Thanos does everything in halves.
Yeah. So I guess
So it'd be
not
quarter
opposite.
face.
That's
Yes.
quarter face.
Yeah.
so. It's just right here.
We're all
What?
here.
It's just the eye.
He'd be great to go to dinner with because he'd always go Dutch. I feel like. Yeah.
He's like, I'll pay a quarter, and you're like, this math doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So we have Iron Man, Nebula,
Captain Rocky,
Cap,
Banner.
or Rocky,
Yeah.
Rocket. There it is.
Banner, ScarJo, Black Widow,
Okoye.
Okoye, Rocket. Did I say Banner already?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said
Okay. Which watching it because I didn't see him the first time and I thought he had gone, and watching it a second time, it's really shoddy CGI when he's standing in the background. Like it's almost like they
Oh,
didn't-
Banner?
Yeah.
Oh
they-
yeah,
it's like they
It's
forgot
almost
about
like they
him.
didn't want him to be there, and last minute they're like, "Yeah, just throw him in."
it's the worst of like the bad CG of Robert Downey Jr. Like when
Yeah.
you can notice he's a head on a metal body.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
it
that's
looked
exactly what it was.
So
Same thing with Don Cheadle too, in War Machine right at the end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's just walking around with it, and I'm like, "Oof, all right."
Also, I would have loved though. It would have been very entertaining to see Banner go because then they were like, "Where? Like, is he? Oh, he's still here." And they look around and just the Hulkbuster's just empty. And no one would have noticed.
My question is, it's only physical form that went, right? Like when they're
So it's
cutting.
not the Hulk win.
Yeah, like
That's
what
what I
if
was
they
thinking.
just got rid of the
Just-
Hulk and Banner stayed? If that'd be possible. I don't even
Yeah,
know.
it's like why the Winter Soldier died and his arm disappeared. When his arm just clanked to the ground.
I
That's
want
the, Luke and
Rocket's
Lex
like
Jackson.
cuddling
It's the
it.
Luke, it's
in
the Luke
last scene.
Skywalker
I got it.
debate all
Woo!
over
Just runs
again.
off, yeah.
The consolation prize.
Yeah.
I got it. It's all mine.
Mhm.
Well, I was also wondering, like, shouldn't have the opposite end of that? Shouldn't now Thor's hammer have no handle
Because Groot's gone.
because it's Groot's arm?
But I guess.
Although I guess it's kind of dead because you cut it off from the main
Yeah.
source.
No, yeah, I guess so.
Will it rot? Does he have to keep it watered?
Well, I guess like a stick. I mean, a stick won't rot,
Yeah, I
will
guess
it?
that's true.
Maybe.
I mean,
It'll
like,
eventually
more-
decay over time
get
and
more,
everything.
like-
Yeah.
But this is being charged by,
By a star middle.
yeah,
Yeah.
true
By Peter
magic,
Dinklage.
guys.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is the character. Like his first one was fine, and I was like, okay, that's just a good setup story. I was kind of a little tired of just some of the lack of creativity in terms of, like he's the master of mystic arts, and we're seeing just a lot of just doing this a lot. But I felt like this film, man, I was really impressed by
He did
where
too.
they took
That
him.
was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Strange has been used better as a supporting character than he was in his movie.
I'd agree with that.
I loved his movie.
Like
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok and now this, like he's shined so much better than as being the star. It almost feels like he's Hulk 2.0. His individual movie's not that strong, but as a support character, he really shines because he's a very distinct personality, but maybe not necessarily a personality that could be a center of a film.
I mean, I felt the same way about Ant-Man, though, too. Like, I feel like sometimes these characters, not that they work better in small doses and you don't want more story out of them, but it's like who you put them up against that makes them more interesting. 'Cause you're right, because Strange, I think, does have one of the most distinct personalities out of everyone, and I think Scott's kind of the same way. So it's fun for them to jump in and then to bounce off of, I guess, kind of more grounded. I mean, Strange is pretty grounded.
I loved this.
But-
I love Doctor Strange's movie,
There-
though.
I loved it too, but I would also agree that I think he's been utilized better in those supporting moments.
There was a moment in this film which I think it was Wong, not Strange, but I thought it was like big foreshadowing. And it's during the first fight in New York, they throw the bigger alien. I only know Proxima Midnight because she has the coolest
And
name.
then it was Ebony Maw.
Okay,
was-
that's
Who's
what
the only
you're-
one named in the
Corvus
film?
Glaive.
I think it's
yeah. But it was the big guy. They throw him onto like the snow area, but then when he reaches out, they cut his arm off through the portal. And I thought that was going to be huge foreshadowing on how they were going to get the gauntlet off.
Oh,
Was they were
So
just going to
I would
use
agree.
the portal? Yeah,
oh, that would have been smart.
yeah, because you
Whoops.
already see it, and it'd be a nice little callback to like,
Yep.
oh right, we can do that.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't do it. But I thought his fight,
Yet.
you'd seen him going, toe to toe
Yet.
against Thanos. I
Ooh.
was
Ooh.
impressed.
Mhm.
And just like even making like the discs for Star Lord to jump across
Yeah.
to do that, I was like,
Or
okay.
Oh, Spider-Man!
Boom.
Magic kick, magic kick.
But that moment when Thanos and Strange like go mano a mano, and Strange is just throwing all these crazy mystical powers, and he has all the arms spread out, and he bursts out into a whole bunch
yes.
of different
So
versions. Because
good.
like he's so awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Throws
in
the
this
mirror
movie.
dimension at him, and Thanos
Yes.
just punches it,
No, that
punches
was
it
really
away.
cool. Spider-Man is, I read like those original Starland books. Like what I liked about him is that he was like just like the friendly neighborhood guy, as he describes himself, but taken in situations that are just way out of his depth, and
Yeah.
how he kind of can still stand up and still play an integral part. So in the original Thanos story, he ends up being the one that knocks over the soul gem that releases Adam Warlock that ends up killing Thanos. So it's like, all the other heroes are, knocked out, and it's up to Spider-Man to save the day, and he does. So I was kind of bummed with his death, even though, you see you want to get back to the OG-ness for the next movie, but I do like the idea of, like, I wish he would have been saved, because I like the idea of Peter Parker, like, the next generation, kind of having to step up and fill in for the big guys and seeing how he does. So from that respect, I mean, I know he'll be back in the next film, but I just wish he'd been around from the beginning.
And he was also the only one that kind of felt the effect, because everyone else, they didn't realize they were
What was
disintegrating until
happening.
halfway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it to Spidey sense. That's why he.
That's what everyone is
Yeah.
applying it to. Yeah.
But in our theater, because I just have to talk about this kid.
Oh.
Oh man! So our whole theater was like openly sobbing when Spidey started to disintegrate.
No, let's clarify. Let's clarify. There were a lot of people in our theater that were openly sobbing. There were people directly behind us and directly in front of us who were screaming out "no"
Yeah, so-
every single time a character died. And I equate it to when you go and see a comedy film and someone makes a chuckle-worthy joke and you chuckle, but someone in the back of the theater is guffawing like an asshat.
Yeah.
Do that, but with like a sad beat. It is.
But this
it
kid in
pulls
front of
you
us.
straight out of the film, straight out of the emotional beats. I just wanted to run and slap that
So
person.
this kid in front of us was dressed in full Spider-Man.
It looked
outfit.
good. I will
It
give
was
him
a
credit.
great
Yeah.
costume. And I-
Homecoming or just OG Spider-Man?
Yeah, Homecoming.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell the girl next to him.
I'm pretty sure it was. Oh, go ahead.
Was it supposed to be Gwen Stacy? Because it looked
No,
like
she
Tara.
no, she was doing like Lady Cap. It was like a cap costume, but it was like bare
Oh,
midriff.
got it. Okay, it looked like Tara from Teen Titans. Um,
No, that's just you wanting it to be
Oh,
Tara
God,
from Teen
so
Titans.
badly.
Yeah.
when Spider-Man went, this kid, I think like I saw someone's heart break in front of me, because this kid like almost fell to the floor in anguish, just like ugly crying, full weeping, like in his girlfriend's shoulder, just like can't control himself. And I'm here with the three most cynical people in the theater.
Oh, it's only worse now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was holding my jacket up, and I wanted to feel emotion, but because I could just hear the echo of the sobs across El Capitan, I had to hide my laughter. Just like,
I-
So over the
everyone
top.
was so
Ugh.
connected to that.
I had family behind me, and we had discussed this because sometimes you're like, I really want to take Josie, but she's not going to sit still. So you don't take her to those.
Yes.
I often forget that the jerk has a real name.
I know. Yes.
How dare you?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I've given away her secret identity. Now she'll have my head. But yeah, you.
Should put you in the third jerk movie.
That's right.
That's right. But there was a family behind me. And it was clear that like the parents wanted to see the movie and just like brought their kid. I'm like, those kids needed a sitter because they were just too young. So every fucking thing was like, who's that? It's like if I had asked all the questions I was thinking, but in a smaller voice directly behind me. It's like, where are they? what's happening? And it kept getting louder and louder. And sometimes he'd lean over and he'd be like, it's Vision. And I'm like, should I know who the fuck Vision is? Like, what are you doing? These two little kids behind me, they were just talking, just asking questions throughout the whole thing. I'm like, listen, I also don't know where we are or what's happening, but I'm on this journey.
You should have turned and just started asking questions too.
Gosh,
Why are you so annoying, huh? Why are you so annoying, kid?
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. And they're
I-
like,
I
ma'am,
have-
you're striking a child. Please leave.
So I have theaters
Child
where
deserved
it's
it.
a very similar thing, where it's clear the parents want to be there.
Yeah.
And the kids, because I usually sit in the front section when I go to movies by myself, and I'll see the kids like running up to the screen and like playing in that front area.
No.
And I'm like,
What?
can you control your child for an hour and a half movie? If not, then they shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
Because that's not a playpen.
Well,
Well,
to be fair,
and
that
also-
happened when you were at the Boss Baby. So,
But they also.
Boss Baby's
that is
different.
an Academy acclaimed movie, Chris. Academy nominated
the
Boss
Academy
Baby.
nominated film Boss
with a
Baby.
series. Yeah, but they also
all-
have like screenings geared towards like family, like kids.
Yeah, like the
and-
lights up
Yeah,
sort of shows.
which
Yeah.
is which is like all good. I feel bad. None of us really should say anything, because none of us. Well, no, you can say stuff because you have a kid, so
Yeah.
back us up on this.
No, I have a
Fuck those
kid.
kids.
Yeah, I have a kid. He co-hosts my podcast. With
Yeah,
me.
I run to the screen a lot and like feel the paper.
Cameron, just sit.
I will say
I want
Buy you ice
Popcorn.
cream if you sit still for an hour.
I will let her in the playpen area, but only after like any kind of mid-credit sequences kind of go.
Oh
And
yeah,
then after
absolutely.
that,
Yeah, once credits roll,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
free
fine. They
reign.
can
Go
be up
for
there
it.
all
Go
they
for it.
want.
Yeah.
But it's like in the middle of a movie, I'll see kids run up there, and that's like, what do you?
No, I tossed her out of a movie, Storks. She started whining too much, and
So you just
I was like,
did you
toss
stay?
her out? And
you
you
gotta
stayed?
go.
Yeah.
You gotta go. I gotta watch this.
I'm in it now.
Yep.
I gotta know what happens.
I caught Storks for the first time on HBO when I was back home for my nephew's birthday. That was a good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Emotionally
it.
effective.
Very much so.
I was pulled in too, Frank. So I
Frank's
see
like,
why the jerk had to go.
That's
Yeah.
right. Gotta get out of
Living
there.
up to her namesake.
Gave her
That's
20
that
bucks and
movie.
sent her off for a trough of soda.
Yeah.
Andy Samberg in a sequence where he's got to go through the maze made of glass.
Yeah.
Just great, guys. That alone should entice you to want to go see it.
You sold
It's
me.
on HBO. It's on HBO. It's on HBO Go now. You
I
can
know what I'm
find
doing
it.
tonight.
I really enjoyed always when you're watching these films, you want to see what the next upgrade is with Tony Stark in his armor, and I enjoyed
Oh,
this
this
whole
was
nano.
I
so
liked
good.
that. Yeah, that was good.
And even at the end, because I didn't catch it the first time, but the second time when you actually see him run out of nanites.
Nanites,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so
Are they
you-
all
like,
run on nanites?
Hmm?
Are they all run on nanites?
Alzheimer, you mean?
Sorry, one
All
more
the
time.
are all the
His previous armors.
yeah, but
None of them have been like this.
No.
Like
but
basically.
isn't that's what makes Rwandan Prince
Vibranium.
Wakanda?
T'Challa? Rwandan, because Don Cheadle
Well,
said
no,
this.
'cause- but also
So, Wakandan.
you have to
Sorry,
remember
guys, Wakanda forever. I'm the worst. But
they've been isolated. So these
Right.
are two ideas running independently of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also it's
but
a
they're
like,
both nanites, right?
yeah, but it's like also different. Like his is like it's smoother, right? If I'm remembering like how his suit would go on. Like it's a little bit smoother than
T'Challa's
Tony
suit?
Stark's. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone did a very bigger nerd than us. Someone did a side-by-side comparison of the clip in the trailer where you see the nanite suit go up Spider-Man, and then you see the nanite suit go up T'Challa. And
Okay, so there are three of them with nanite suits, right?
Spider-Man, his
Spider-Man.
iron spider
Well,
suit, yeah.
But I think it's still different technology. Like I
Yeah.
I feel like Starks, they're all like,
Stark is
tiny
trying
little-
to
I feel like-
copy.
I feel like those are all
Wakanda.
like tiny little robots though with Starks.
Isn't a nanite a tiny little robot?
Yes.
But I don't know if Wakanda, if it's nanites or just like I don't think that the
I see what you're
parts
saying.
of like the Black
Well,
Panther suit are quote unquote intelligent.
It's the I think the thing that proves what you're saying is that scene with Shuri and Banner, and she's just talking to him about how they mapped out the AI for Vision, and she's like, "I didn't know we didn't know you could do that."
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think you're right. Like it's definitely like Tony Stark wanted to do something, and Wakanda's like, "Yeah, hold my beer." Like we
Yeah,
have
I mean,
a much better understanding of this.
I read that as Wakanda has been introduced to the world. I think I read that as Stark got access to some Wakandan tech, and he took his own spin on it, which was to then use like the microparticles and actually make them full-on little robots. Because his suit can do more than a Black Panther suit can.
Right. And lest we forget that he's had access to the entirety of Shield's files for
Yeah, that's true.
6
2
years.
Would be
That
2
was-
years since. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
since
since
Avengers. Yeah,
I thought you were
it-
gonna say when Natasha opened everything to the world.
Oh no! Yeah, since Avengers when he put his little
It's a
thing
little
on.
virus, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really long back and forth that I feel like just confirmed my question that 3 of them have used some kind of nanite technology in their suits.
Maybe yes.
Just different
Maybe
types of
potentially.
nanites.
Yes.
Okay.
But
alright.
because I feel
I'm
like
just saying I'm drawing these connections. That's all.
in the comics when you see like the Hulk or Thor go up against Thanos, but I never really see Iron Man's always been kind of had his ass handed to him in the comics. But to see him, I like this. I was
Be
like,
the one who drew blood.
Hold his
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
That was
I was
All
like,
that
alright.
effort. Just anything he says, anything
was
Josh
so
Brolin
cool.
says.
Oh no, Brolin is just he's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, on second viewing, I noticed him when he ran out of nanites and like he would sacrifice his leg armor to build a shield
Yep.
to protect one punch, and then like it'd
From
be
One
like
Punch Man?
Well, even
yes,
the-
it'd be like
yeah.
one arm to make the knife come out of the second arm.
That's
You
cool.
know, it was so it was
balanced.
so
And
cool,
even
yeah.
like the leading up to that of him shedding his stuff, and like seeing like it's really quick, but you see like Thanos like punches him, like he knocks his mask off, and then it
the,
really,
the
like,
second one comes back immediately. Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, just like getting to that point too of Thanos just basically beating the nanites off of him.
It's gonna be my new saying.
I did.
It's that it did.
I know my brain didn't go there until Frank laughed, and then I'm like, oh yeah.
in terms of the villains, though, I feel like out of the Obsidian Order, the only one that I really cared about, even a little bit, was just Ebony Maw. I
Yeah.
feel like that's the one
Yeah.
I really kind of spent any time with. Like Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive. I mean,
They
I
were
understand
together
what
apparently.
Yeah.
It took me reading an article about this movie to find that out.
they- yeah.
Like
They're-
dating together.
They love us.
Oh,
Yeah, she's like, "You killed my lover" or something like that. She's like pissed off. I'm just like,
Well,
"What?"
I think she said something like, "You'll
You'll never get a chance like this
you'll
again.
pay for his death" or something.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently they were banging.
Oh, so that's the girl, the one female.
Proxima Midnight.
Proxima
Yeah.
Midnight, and
And-
then is it the guy with the hood?
Yeah,
like the,
Corvus
like the
Glaive.
elf-looky
Mhm.
Yeah.
guy. Okay.
So
I-
I guess
I-
Thanos is pro incest if they're all children of Thanos.
Well, it's a title, not an actual.
Yeah. God, Cameron. Ugh.
I
So
liked it.
they were like just like good, I guess, just like chess pieces to have. But I feel like, and I feel like that is the thing. If you're working for this long, your ideas are changing and evolving constantly. So what
Yeah.
you were thinking of back 10 years ago is certainly not what they're thinking of now. But
Yeah,
like
'cause
the
it-
Obsidian Order would have been something like, could we have started alluding that in earlier films? So at least we have something invested in them when they show up.
Put one of them on the ship with Nebula, or in where were they when he was talking when Ronan's talking to Thanos in Guardians 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like little, yeah, you're right. Like little stuff like that. But it's also like you can also see the stuff once they had the roadmap, how stuff's paid off.
True. Do you want to see them do like George Lucas and go back into those earlier films
I
and
was
put
just
that?
gonna say, like, they're all like, "What?" They're somewhere. They're listening to this podcast, going, "Well, hindsight is what it is." Like,
Corvus
alright.
Glaive shot first.
It's well, 'cause I even feel like that's like with Thanos. They made such a big thing of him having that armor all the time, and then I feel like
sheds
once
it immediately.
They sheds it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, I hated that armor in Guardians. It looks
looked
like
weird,
it
yeah.
was such a step up. Like it looked so much better in this movie, but it just looked like a solid gold like suit. It didn't look good.
I think that's credit to Marvel for recognizing,
What
like,
doesn't
like
work.
learning from their own mistakes or learning from their like subtle misfires. But they're like they're one of the few franchises I can think of that really pays attention to their own movies. And
Not just
tries
doubling
to,
down on like, "Nuh-uh, this is awesome. We'll just do it harder."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, DC.
A friend of mine was pointing out like it used to be that a sequel, the point of a sequel was to try and reach the same success with less resources. It used to be the sequel be the direct to DVD, where now it's half the budget trying to make the same amount. And Marvel and just sort of in general has now it's shifted into you double down. And Marvel has invested more and more money in every subsequent film, and it's shown and it's paying off. Even when you do have like a turd like Thor: The Dark World.
You know what? I like Thor: The Dark World.
Shut
Do
up.
you?
I do.
What do you
I
like about
genuinely.
it?
I genuinely. I think.
This is now a new podcast.
Yeah. Oh, this
We're-
you
we're
must feel like all
scrapping
the
the
time.
rest of
Oh my
this.
God, Cameron, this
Yeah,
is crazy.
welcome to my world. I'm gonna talk Boss Baby while you talk Thor: Dark World.
I think that the third act of that is a lot of fun, and it's clever and how it all executes itself, going from different dimensions and like him trying to reunite the hammer. It's playful. Like I haven't seen it in a number of years, to be fair.
As someone who rewatched it last week, it's not as good as you remember.
It's probably not. But
It is a good FX because it's been on FX a bunch.
Yeah.
And I've just just watched it and just like, all right, cool, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was entertained by it. It definitely doesn't have a great villain, but I like Eccleston in general.
What's the elf's name again?
Malekith.
Malekith. Okay.
Malekith. Yeah, no, like I like pretty much everyone that's in it.
We can name Malekith, but
I
you
got you
couldn't
to
even name
Mok'Tau.
3 people in Avatar.
You
Cameron.
named a bat. All right, give us a
A
character.
bat. It's a banshee, you motherfucker. That's the greatest of the banshee. Why does Taduk Mok'Tau never look up? Because no one's hunting him. That's why.
I feel like even in Ragnarok, as fun as that is, I don't think we're ever going to see like Thor like being such an ass kicker ever
Yeah.
in any of the films until we saw him when he shows up there in Wakanda.
When he shows up, that is my moment.
That
in the
was
movie.
cool.
Yeah.
That and just
Did
the-
anyone else really want? What was the song from
Immigrant Song?
Immigrant Song. I wanted
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
that to play so badly when he showed up. Like in my head, it was already playing.
Yeah.
And when it wasn't playing in real, I was a little let down.
About the soundtrack, I thought that it was cool the way that they cued. It was fun the way they cued different characters up. It's like the second that Rubber Band Man started, you're like, oh, we're going
Yeah,
to
we
Guardians.
know,
We're
yeah.
Immediately, we know where we're headed. And I thought they did a great job with
And-
sort of cueing,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
with cueing the characters and still making it feel cohesive.
Well, when
You know?
I think the first time we hear the Avengers theme in the movie is when Cap shows up
Yeah.
in Scotland, and I think that it's used prominently again, if I recall, when Thor shows up too. Like it comes back around again, and that's one of the few identifiable themes that we have from Marvel, and I love it. I love it.
Well, it's also it's like you. I guess I didn't realize how recognizable that theme was until they started using it in the trailer, and like the variations in the trailer are just like the doom and gloom of it all. But just like, yeah, I guess I do know by sound the Avengers like score, like
Well,
the theme of it.
for
Like,
good reason. It's Alan Silvestri, who is amazing.
was he the one who did the first Avengers?
He did the first Avengers.
Back to the Future.
I mean, that's at
Well,
the
yeah.
end of the day, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
is-
Obviously, Frank.
Oh my God. I spent a whole week listening to that at
Thor's
work.
the future.
Just like all 3 of those movies on loop. Oh, it's so good.
Did anybody, when you're seeing Cap, I don't feel like I mean, Black Widow as well, but I feel like Cap, for as much as you enjoy him, like doesn't get much to do in this film. I feel like maybe there's
No.
the next one.
No.
But he also, I feel like, does he not wash his costume at all?
Yeah, I
feel
thought
like-
Cap was looking a little haggard.
Oh, I was digging it.
Were
Were
you
you?
like
Oh,
like
yeah.
that A,
Probably
like just
says
that
something
star
about
on his
our,
chest? Like,
our comparative tastes in
just
men,
yeah.
you wouldn't want to wash that star? It was just so gritty. I was like, come on. Just,
I mean, since he
Also-
lost the shield, I feel like
it
just
can't
like-
deflect the dirt anymore.
yeah. he never actually learned how to clean anything.
That's
He's
right.
been so dependent on that shield.
And speaking of ScarJo, as it has been the tradition, how does this hairstyle rank among all the other hairstyles? Because
I-
it's a new movie, so it means Scarlett Johansson's got a new hairdo.
It might be her best, actually.
I didn't like it in the trailers. I liked it in the movie.
There wasn't a lot of volume on top.
I would agree with
Yeah,
that.
give us.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of volume on top. I mean, I like the red hair.
Gives
I,
a little
I'm,
puff
I'm,
and fluff.
I'm a,
Yeah.
I'm a fan. But to me, I thought it looked good on her. I just liked the. I think there's something really fun about the red bob that keeps it very like comic book world, like less high fashion and more comic book, which
Like-
is such a weird thing. But I
Winter
dig it.
Soldier was like I felt like the perfect sort of encapsulation of her hair.
I feel
Like
it's
it-
the
and Avengers.
most comics-esque, right? Because in the comics, she usually has long straight hair, right?
Yeah,
Usually?
I like the
Yeah.
red. I like the red lob.
Little Bob.
Lob.
It's very Bobby in Avengers.
I also feel like I don't know
Both
why.
Avengers.
If you're going to change your hair and not even have like a passing line or even a tossaway line like they have Cap and Thor
I loved that.
trading
That
back,
was a great.
That was funny.
Great.
That was good.
Yes.
but no shout out to Wanda at all.
Yeah.
I was like, or I mean
Yeah.
to
ScarJo.
ScarJo
Widow.
about why that. Yeah.
But even she had much redder hair this time around too.
Oh, Scarlet Witch.
It's the magic. It's just kind of flowing through.
Well, everything she
Well,
does
that's why
is magic.
Okoye does it right. Okoye's coming in solid.
She
She's
doesn't
got
have
a
any time
brand.
for fucking hair, man.
Yeah.
There's a meme that I've seen that's just it's like my favorite thing, and it's her and 11 from Stranger Things,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like the future. It's like the future is here, and it doesn't have time for style for hair. Like it's whole thing like
Oh,
fighting the
yeah.
patriarchy takes up so much time that's like all just shaved our heads because we don't have time to deal
Oh,
with
because
it.
it was
That's
also
awesome.
it was the girl from the Florida shoot, from the Parkland shooting.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Emma
Gonzalez.
Yes, Emma Gonzalez. Yeah.
We can name Emma Gonzalez, Cameron,
Yeah.
because these things mean something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Wanda got a lot of ass kicking moments here in this film, and I was like, all right, that's awesome. But I
Yeah.
feel like Vision, they just kept hitting the same
I
beat
didn't
again,
see
where he
Vision
just kept
do
getting
anything.
stabbed, and I'm stabbed again. Oh, I'm stabbed again.
So they said he couldn't when he was stabbed. It said he couldn't phase.
Yeah.
I feel like they meant to say he couldn't. He lost all of his powers because he didn't.
He seemed
didn't
pretty
use his,
weak
like,
sauce to me this movie.
He
Yeah.
didn't use his forehead beam, or he didn't
No,
fly.
he did.
Did he?
Yeah, he still flew.
Oh.
He still used his forehead laser.
That's right. Because
He even faded. It was just when it was in him.
But yeah,
that he was
I think it
I think
damaged
he
ability
phased.
to. I guess we don't know if he can heal himself or
No,
not.
he-
'Cause
no,
he's
he
never
didn't
had a
phase
need
after
to. Yeah, I don't think he phased ever. But we also,
He broke out of the wall. He
That's
broke through
true.
the wall. Yeah.
yeah, but I guess we've never seen him having a need to heal or not. So I don't know if that was part of that version of the character's powers to use the phasing to.
Well, it's also
heal.
just interesting to see like not only that wound, but like this like growing just like dent in him, like
Yeah.
on the other side of his chest. Like yeah, he was really haggard
Yeah.
through the whole movie.
I guess it kind of makes sense. They talk about the fact that he is so unique and so finely and weirdly put together. He's this crazy hodgepodge of things. You could see that like one little thing or a pretty big thing getting like a blade through the chest could really throw everything off because it's all just barely functioning. As
It's
it
almost
is.
like the first time Superman meets Kryptonite.
what?
You look so
in-
pleased with
in-
yourself.
I was very pleased.
It's
with
just
that.
like-
In what
Wait,
version are you
wait.
talking
and
about?
and Bat v Soups, he was so nonchalant about the missile that shot green gas at him because he didn't.
Oh, I'm
He'd
gonna be
never
honest. I have
experienced
forgotten pretty much all of that
Blocked
movie.
it out.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
as a defense mechanism.
I mean, it's only like the thing that we talk about every week, but you know, it's okay.
Yeah, but all we do is shit on it.
Yeah.
So we don't need to remember the details to do that.
Do we think it's gonna cut that conversation?
Hour 3.
Yes.
We're
do
in
we,
the end game now.
We're in the end game now. Do we think Vision is gone for good?
Yeah, because in that sequence where you see
His,
Shuri's
his
yeah,
forehead crushed in.
yeah, where she's trying to rewire so they can extract the mind gem, and it doesn't seem like she finishes it before
No.
Corvus Glaive shows up. Do you think that she makes some sort of backup so that they can?
It's the
do
sure
it?
thing to do. That's why she's
Yeah.
my princess.
Well, I'm wondering if they're gonna go Young Avengers route with him and Vision 2.0. Like it is Vision, but it's not Vision. So I don't think it's gonna be Paul Bettany back. I think they might, if they're bringing him back, take an opportunity to like change him up.
Oh, I love Paul Bettany though.
Yeah,
I know.
He's so good.
Because they made such a big point in the movie that like he's not just the Mind Stone, so
Yep.
it wouldn't
Yeah.
really make sense they dedicated that much of the film to that story and not have it pay off.
Yeah, I feel like that is your kind of your get out of jail card. For
Mhm.
So along those lines, we kind of briefly touched on this earlier, but the remaining Avengers is essentially the original lineup.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming you guys as well went into this thinking that we were gonna lose,
Right.
that it was gonna be like some of the big original people were gonna die, Cap or Iron Man were gonna go, and that the second Avengers film was going to, fourth technically, was going to have it be the new crew,
Mm-hmm.
the new wave kind of coming taking over. And the way they set it up is very much the opposite, where all of the young guns, all the newer characters that we feel like will continue to have franchise in the future.
Everyone who has a movie announced about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. So they're all gone. So do we then think, like, I guess going from there, what do we think is going to happen in Avengers 4? Is it going to be, the shift is going to happen where we're going to then lose some of the original hitters and they're going to get their bigger moments? Cap's going to get more to do, for example.
The writers have said that that's the plan.
Yeah.
They short shifted some people knowing they'd be able to deliver.
And I just assumed it was going to be the opposite going into this. That I thought, you know,
I was joking with my friends on Saturday because they loosely know Marvel,
yeah.
but they know what movies are coming out, and so I was joking with them that that's actually been the red herring all along. That Marvel has a separate list of movies that are actually coming out, and the Spider-Man 2, the Black Panther 2, that's just been a ruse.
That's right.
To make
To
you
throw
think they're
everybody off the
safe.
track.
Yeah, they're actually gone.
Do you need,
Get ready for Cap 4, 2019.
Do you need to see anybody die? Like, say nobody dies in the next film, and everybody's still alive, but even due to real life stuff, their contracts are up. They decide they really don't want to do it anymore, and it's just that you could go on in the Marvel universe, name check him, but never see him. Would that be fine?
Hawkeye
you
them.
need, yeah. Do
Yeah.
you need to, do you need to see them die?
I think I don't know. I think some characters need some sense of finality. Maybe part of that is, if Cap dies, that mantle can get passed along to Bucky, can go on to Falcon, or if Iron Man dies, that
Spidey.
it can go on to Spidey, or is it Riri Williams is the new
Mm-hmm.
Ironheart? Like there's potential there. I feel like
Let's not forget Shannon Carter.
a Sharon Carter.
Sharon Carter, yeah.
Yeah, the new Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
It's still weird. I think there needs to be some closure on that, and I don't think everyone needs to die, but I feel like there has to. I feel like if they just bring everyone back the next movie, which the majority of them will come back, and there's no cost. Here's a good
lowers
example.
the stakes.
It lowers stakes. Here's a good example. Star Trek Into Darkness, not a great film. I just think of it as a 2-hour-long Michael Giacchino music video. From that perspective, I like it. But in the end, they kill off Kirk, and then he comes right back around. They haven't earned that. You think in comparison to Wrath of Khan, yes, Spock comes back in the next movie, but like that death lasts for a bit, and there's a huge cost. Literally, the cost to get him back is the Enterprise. If they don't kill someone off the next time around in bringing back all these people, it undercuts everything, and all the stakes go away.
I think that it's kind of you can do a blanket bring back of everyone who was wiped out with the gauntlet, right? That went all Voldemort disappearing, flaking away, right?
Oh yeah, good one.
Thanks. I also liked the Dementors at the Twin Towers. The one
Oh
Dementor.
right, the Red Skull. We haven't even talked about that.
Yes, I'm
Red
very curious
Skull
about the
was
Red
a
Skull thing.
fucking Dementor.
Yeah.
But like, I think that you could do kind of a blanket if you manipulated time and brought or I assume there's a stone that takes care of that, like brings everybody back from
The
the
seventh stone.
from the Soulscape or something. What is it? I like the sound
The
of
Soul Stone.
Soulscape. Soulscape is my new metal grunge band.
There you go.
But I think you could bring everybody back like that. But I think that if you also bring back Gamora and Loki, then it's potentially
But leave Heimdall.
yeah. But you know what I mean. But if you bring back those
Idris
guys
Elba's
that
got shit to
they
do.
died in a
Yeah.
different way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then maybe and then I think that's like the line, which is a bummer because I'd like to see Gamora come back.
Gamora feels like she's got an asterisk next to her
Yeah,
with the fact that she's connected to the Soul Stone and knowing from the comic books and the source material what the Soul Stone's capable of.
I don't know what it's capable of.
It's capable housing souls basically. It's a soul repository basically.
It's
so
a
you
soul
could
hostel,
But nobody really understands
and
how
can
to use it,
reunite you
right?
with your body.
Oh,
like a
alright.
public storage unit for souls. Like you don't
Okay.
need it now, so just
and
tuck it away for a bit.
Okay, well,
but I feel like
bless you.
Bless you.
Cap and Iron Man, like Cap. I mean, there's just a tragedy to his story that's just like kind of since he woke up before the Avengers, like it kind of feels just like as a man so caught out of time, like he's just been on borrowed time this whole time. Like Cap, his whole world's dead already.
Yeah.
Peggy's dead. Like everyone's
Yeah. With Bucky leaving, that was the last of it.
yeah.
That's why I felt so like emotional when Bucky faded.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that was Cap's last remnant of his time.
And so yeah, there's a tragedy to his world. Just that I feel like a death might like give some meaning and some gravitas, but also it feels like Tony Stark's been on has had a death wish since Avengers.
Yeah.
And that his whole arc has been being the selfish prick who's kidnapped by the terrorist to the Avengers, where he like Cap calls him. I was like, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play, and then he does at the end. I think that there's both of them have a trajectory, but Stark's the one who could fade into the background. I don't think Cap can just go. I think Cap's got to be knocked out.
Well, and Stark now is, I mean, he's rock bottom. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
He's a wreck.
He's a wreck.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see what they do with that, just because he's just going to be.
Well, you set it up like in any movie where it's like, hey, I can't wait for us to really start a family. That's almost
Yeah,
like, I mean, like,
exactly.
Right.
hey, you're not gonna
I
be
got
around.
something to tell you. I'll tell you next time we see each other.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Game of Thrones route.
Bye.
But in the other sense, just like I don't know if I need to see him die. That he could have that happy ending. He's kind of beat his own personal demons that he's been struggling with since the first New York invasion. Thanos is done. That he can just kind of fade away and enjoy life with Pepper.
Yeah.
And maybe we see him in cameos like Spider-Man: Homecoming 2 or 3, where he just pops in for a hot second and
He's
that's
like
enough.
he's the He's like the guy that goes to prom to make sure kids aren't like spiking the punch and having
Yeah,
sex.
That's right.
What's that called?
he's the one who's like
Chaperone?
spiking the punch and
He's a
having sex somewhere.
chaperone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just pops in. It's a prom chaperone, and like that's it. It's literally it.
Yeah.
Sorry guys. I popped first. I started laughing at the idea, and then I couldn't remember the word
Really
chaperone,
deliberate.
and I just really sank that landing.
No, you
Also,
you
another
nailed
character
it.
from Avatar. That's why you couldn't remember it.
Yeah, I couldn't remember it.
But I don't know if that's also me applying, because like for, comic book thinking to film thinking, because for comic books, anytime they do those big line-wide crossovers where a hero has to make the ultimate sacrifice, and then within a year or 2 years they're going to get brought back,
Right.
Because it's easy to do that. So I feel like, well, I see all these deaths. Like, do I need? It's my low point when they kill somebody in an event crossover, because I'm like, I know you're just going to bring him back, so it doesn't really hold much stakes to me. So it's like, why not? Why kill anybody off anyway? So for this, but I'm applying that thinking to a film, and I don't know if for a film-going audience, they need to see that kind of, that a character's story arc needs to either end and fading off happily ever after, or it needs to end with a death.
Here's, I think it's interesting that, and we kind of hit this early on, but it seems like you guys are actually like potentially having a discussion about how people come back, that you don't all know instantly, that it's not like all four of you are like, oh, this thing happens, and I'm like, oh, okay. It's like under discussion. So I think there's something satisfying there, and that everybody doesn't just know immediately, who's coming back and how, that we kind of have to put our faith in the creators of the film to work that out, which I think it could be satisfying.
I mean, well, they do say that the gauntlet takes, like nobody's ever held even 2 stones, let alone all 6, and it takes a tremendous, powerful individual to handle it. So I feel like one of them couldn't do it. So I can see somewhere where Cap and Iron Man have to team up.
So how many Avengers are there? How many Avengers,
There's
original Avengers?
5. I had this thought too, that each of them hold a stone, and that's how they all go.
There's 6.
Rocket?
No, Hawkeye.
Yeah, if Hawkeye comes
There
back.
are 6 original Avengers. We don't know where Hawkeye is. He's under house arrest. I think
his guards are now dead.
Oh, it has to be original Avengers?
Also, hang on. You said that it takes an incredibly powerful being to wield the gauntlet.
Yes.
We know that in 2 movies' time, we're going to meet the most powerful person in the MCU.
Who is it?
In Captain Marvel.
And Wasp.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel's the most powerful
Post-credit
person.
scene.
She is. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Kevin Feige's even said that. Like, she is like the most powerful person, and I think that's part of the reason why they've been keeping her out in space for the last 20 years in the MCU timeline, because her movie is set in the 90s.
That's rad.
Yeah, so we get young Nick Fury.
That's why you have
both eyes.
the cool
And frosted
like beeper.
tips and
Oh,
lips.
yeah. It's
Guys,
going to be great.
I'm so excited
Yeah.
about
So
it.
many
Chokers,
so many baggy jeans.
really low pants and ab lines.
What were the jeans called that opened up?
Jinko jeans.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew immediately. You're like, what's the jeans called? I'm like, I know this one.
Are we gonna get?
I could
Buzz,
name.
buzz.
I could name that brand, but you couldn't
Fuck
name.
you. I don't like this recurring joke.
But I feel like with Ant-Man and Wasp, that's going to take place before, after Civil War, pre-Infinity War, and I feel like it's going to line up right at the end.
Yeah,
I
it's
think the
gonna-
post-credit scene's gonna be people vanishing.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Which
Hank Pym.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, he's going to vanish.
I say Hank Pym, Judy Greer, Bobby Cannavale. It's like not his
Oh,
daughter,
yeah, that'd
but
be a
his
little too
ex-wife and his and her husband. They're
Yeah.
gone.
Michael
Jake
Pena?
Sully, Natiri, Dr. Grace Augustine.
It's too late. It's too late.
Yeah, Cameron, we're past this joke now?
No, you guys are apparently not
Yeah.
past this
We're
joke.
well past it at
I
this
had
point.
to get one in.
Yeah.
But I also think with Captain Marvel too, since it takes place in the '90s, I feel like
Norm
that
Spellman.
Kree infusion to her DNA makes her lifespan very long, so that she can take off into space for 20 years, still come back and be pretty much the same age.
that's my real big question mark. Is it that she's like Thor and he's 1,500 years old but looks like a beautiful angel
What
pirate?
was- oh, yeah.
Or if she's gone, if
yeah.
she's like quantum space like Janet.
All right.
I'm really curious to see how they do that, because you're right. There has to be something. It's not going to be Brie Larson's in this movie then recast as like
Sigourney Weaver.
No,
Yeah.
they'll just do this a la Jennifer Lawrence, and she will just look like a 20-something-year-old, but she'll play like a 45-year-old. That'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it's easy to
so
just say
over
that
it.
Kree
God,
DNA
no.
is making your lifespan
Yeah.
much more prolonged. So you're going to age at an incredibly slow rate.
But it is sort of funny that both their captain characters are off the board and then brought back in times of great need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Carol Danvers is somebody that enjoyed her Miss Marvel character growing up. But when they promoted her up to Captain Marvel, I'd never the stories were just fine, but never really sucked me in as much as Marvel wanted me to.
Yeah.
But I think I can get really sucked into the film version of Carol Danvers and Captain Marvel.
I think there's something to be said for Marvel being really great about that in general. Because I've talked about this a lot. I didn't read a lot of Marvel comics as a kid. I read Ultimate Spider-Man. I read a lot of X-Men comics, but neither of those really are in the MCU. A little bit of Spider-Man. But my love of these characters comes from the movies themselves and the fact that they have found a way to do these really crazy, complicated storylines and narrow it down to the point where most movie-going audiences can follow along and get connected with it.
That's what I thought the biggest accomplishment of this movie was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has faults, but my God, this. If I thought that I was worried about Civil War going in, that they had too much stuff to cover, and that movie on paper shouldn't work, and it's great, one of their best. This movie, it's technically amazing that they made this whole thing work.
Yeah. Well, I feel like now I have such confidence and faith in Marvel as a film company to give me a really fun film to watch, more so than a Marvel TV side.
Yeah.
I have very little confidence in the Marvel TV side to deliver me.
That was the post credit I wanted. Instead of it being the Captain Marvel logo, I wanted it to be Daredevil. I know who to call.
No. Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And they get it actually, we're good. We're good. Yeah, we get it. You're the immortal Iron Fist. I don't care.
Well,
You see the
Marvel's
logo
also
and
been
someone steps on the pager.
crash it.
Not
cracks it.
happening.
Marvel also isn't. They don't have DC's problem where people want whole cloth adaptations of storylines. I want to see Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
And Marvel's been very smart in pulling names and using them as inspiration. And we get with Civil War, we get that cool shot of Iron Man blasting his beams at Cap's shield and getting that back. And that's an iconic image from it. But Marvel, either internally or just for the result of fans, doesn't seem as beholden to that and is able to make these more fully realized stories and movies.
Well, do you think that part of the reason being that Marvel history is kind of comprised of just great characters and some arcs, but overall it's you get the sense of most of their storytelling is just good. I think of DC where a lot of their stuff is pretty inconsequential and they have occasional really great things. I think of the best DC books are usually kind of one-off or more or less self-contained stuff, right? Whereas Marvel, it's just kind of they've just always done a really good job with this for many, many years. Maybe that's why it translates better, is because they don't have distinct arcs. I love how you tried so quietly to sneak off, and then you just talk. You talk anyways.
Cameron's got to go poop.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna lock the door. But I mean, do you think that's part of it? Is just the nature of how the stories
it could
be.
Yeah, I think Marvel. Marvel was built on something different. It's also why Marvel has the problem of their secondary characters are kind of lacking. This is a world, but it's also because the interconnecting nature of this world from the get, just Spider-Man's with the Fantastic Four in the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man and all that stuff, that these movies demand that they're sort of all together. And I think there hasn't really been a sort of super iconic thing as opposed to really cool ideas that Marvel's implemented.
Yeah.
I don't think Contest of Champions or Secret Wars or all that, they're fun storylines, but it's more the general concept and not necessarily the execution of the story that I'm I can think of a handful of stuff that I'd really that Marvel has that I really want to see something adapted fully, demanded faithful adaptation, The Killing Joke.
Right. Because
No, I'm sorry, Frank.
One of the things that I would love to see, and I don't know if it ever really happened. It will never happen at least the way it happened in the comics. Was because I really grew up on the Ultimate comics more so than the mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, Mark Millar's Ultimates, and then also his run on Ultimate X-Men, and then when they fought each other, that was still is one of my all-time favorite story arcs. Is the Ultimate X-Men against the Ultimates, and we'll never get that. Not just because the X-Men are separate, but even by the time they could potentially come back in, whole different makeup of
Yeah.
the Avengers, and so that'll never be. But I think that's generally
But
fair.
also, like Marvel basically used the Ultimate line as the test pilot.
oh yeah,
Like this, it's also the fact that like so much of these iconic stories like lines kind of wouldn't work because this is built on the foundation of a line of comics that only goes back 18 years.
yeah. Like the Ultimates was my introduction to a lot of these characters. Like that was pretty much
Mm-hmm.
the first book I ever read with Iron Man. So my version of Iron Man didn't have the arc reactor; he had a brain tumor,
Yeah,
right?
and also, I mean, that is alcoholism never addressed in the Ultimate line.
Well, sort of. Did you ever read the actual Ultimate Iron Man story arc?
What is
Oh,
that?
the
It's
Orson
or-
Scott Card?
It's weird. It's good, but it's weird. But in that, basically, his whole body is a computer sort of thing. Like he has.
He's like born blue or something
It's
like
like
that.
it's like he has.
Iron Man is?
Yeah.
Ultimate Iron Man was like a blue baby or something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
I'm so
his
confused.
brain like runs through his whole body basically, and so
Why are you laughing at me?
he's
Like,
exposed to oxygen. It
"Blue
hurts,
baby."
so he has like this pain. But then he discovers that alcohol numbs the pain of having his brain run through his whole body. It's really bizarre. And Orson Scott Card is a monster, so there's I'm not super keen on supporting his work.
Did you like Ender's Game, the movie?
Not particularly. I like the book a lot, and I've heard that the subsequent books are really good. But again, I have a hard time giving him money because he's a monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I'm
an
just
interesting
I have
comic
to
though.
Google that whole situation. I'm just gonna have to Google it when I get home.
Huge homophobe.
Oh,
Yeah, like he's one of those people that, like donates tons of money to like anti-LGBT causes.
gross.
Really
Yeah.
classy dude.
Yeah, I think that might be wrong.
What he's done?
Allegedly. Everything's
Oh, yeah.
allegedly.
Well, it's like it came into the forefront of fandom
And
when
that's
he got
the
his.
secret of comic books.
Yeah. We spent the last 10 minutes talking about all the characters of Avatar, Cameron.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a moving film.
Yeah, all
Now
the-
that we've all talked about it together, like I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm in, guys. Give me like Avatar 6. I'm super
Yeah.
excited for it.
Oh, so
Don't worry, they will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just I agree. It's like Marvel's they've done a great job of giving you the characters you like, but not being so beholden to all the source material.
Yeah.
And feeling that liberty to pull from different elements of it and combine it into a unique presentation.
And also just understanding that you're dealing with two different mediums of storytelling too.
Yeah.
I think that's like especially when you go back like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man with and Hulk, Ang Lee's Hulk is really bothersome with this, but like the comic book panel transitions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like that's Marvel has never done anything like that. Marvel Studios has never had like the closest thing that they've gotten to like a true blue sort of comic book feel is probably like Captain America: The First Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so like they just treated these like no, these are legitimate movies, and these are characters that they basically just reimagined them as not comic book characters brought to the screen, but movie characters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kevin Feige cut his teeth making movies like Spider-Man and X-Men. He worked with the Donners back in the day.
Yeah.
So he learned how to make those movies while watching people like not quite nail it, but kind of get the core of it.
It's so like now we're like just this whole crazy realization that I just had. It's like it's funny, like basically in every sense of the word, Richard Donner is the foundation of this industry.
Oh
Because
yeah.
Kevin Feige, head of Marvel Studios, and Jeff Johns, head of DC, both cut their teeth with Donner.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that Kevin Feige, in a sense, more successful? Because if you look at DC's
Oh.
track run,
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Frank,
well, but-
that's not up for debate.
Well, hold on.
Well, and I think what that comes down to is Kevin Feige is not a writer. Like Jeff Johns is a writer, and I think they're trying to bring him in to kind of help shepherd that. Kevin Feige is through and through a producer, and so he's very good at knowing how to produce. You know, he's not sitting in the director's chair, he's not writing scripts, but he's clearly very involved in all this sort of stuff. I think that's part of the difference. Is that they went on very different career paths, setting one up to be great at being a filmmaker, and the other one as a great creative, but that's not the same job.
Yeah.
well, do you think the difference between Marvel and DC in terms of the success? Because this was, 10 years, and I think we could all agree they pretty much stuck the landing in terms of what they wanted to accomplish
Yeah.
with this big crossover. And DC has tried so many times to get
floundering.
something going.
Yeah, just
Just floundering.
flailing.
Ugh.
Is it just basically the difference of Kevin Feige and like whatever they're doing at Warner Brothers? Whether it's Jeff
It's
Johns,
patience.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
patient.
what
And,
Dude,
and I
that's-
think and an eye on the end game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what's derailed every successful series. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man one's impatient and overstuffed. And all DC, like DC if they would have played it right and just really copied the Marvel playbook, they would have been patient and understood. Oh, hey, if we take the same Marvel approach, we'll be ramping up into our Justice League fervor in our phase 2, just as Marvel's reaching the finish line of their first 10 years and losing some of their people. So we can capitalize on that and hopefully as Marvel kind of potentially sinks in the declines after the original stars leave, we can swoop up and get people excited for our 10-year thing, our big build-up.
Well, that's why we're getting Aquaman this year, right?
God, I forget that movie's coming out still. Like seriously, like
it's the one that's actually going to get made and released.
Yeah.
Well, they
Big
showed some
difference.
footage in Vegas for CinemaCon, and even though it wasn't finished footage, it still got a positive
I heard,
response.
heard good things. I'm actually like tentatively excited for that. But I think another thing worth noting on the difference is when Marvel Studios started, it was an independent studio, right? It had distribution deals with Paramount, but it didn't actually get bought in. It got bought by Disney and what?
probably 15 years after it, like 2008 or 2009. 2009.
Was it
So
2009?
yeah, and Marvel Films was what Marvel Studios grew out of, and that was started in the 90s.
Okay, so So I guess it did get bought out sooner in the run of Marvel Studios films than I thought it was.
It just didn't impact it till after the Avengers.
Yeah, I think
because
that's
basically everything was already
Yeah,
going.
that's a big part of it. But so that when they started out, their whole goal was just let's make Iron Man. Let's make Iron Man. Let's make it really good. And then this did well enough. Okay, well we also got Incredible Hulk going along. Let's like throw in that as a cameo. And they just slowly, bit by bit, got better and better and focused on just making one movie at a time with a long-term strategy. Whereas, frankly, with Warner Brothers, part of the problem is there's a lot more downward pressure. Right, like Warner Brothers was relying on tentpole releases. They had just made billions with the Dark Knight films, so like they were set up to fail in a way that Marvel wasn't. But also Marvel tried harder.
But I still remember my when the announcement of everything started really ramping up. Marvel took out this huge loan from like Merrill Lynch or something like that to start footing the bill and going like that. There was a very realistic expectation that this could fail.
Oh,
that
yeah.
this could crash and destroy basically the industry. And now we're at a point where Avengers has the biggest opening of all time, $250 million in a weekend.
And
it's not even China.
So,
they also they are tied. They're in a three-way tie for second on most money spent, budgeted.
Yeah.
The number one movie for most money spent is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Like for a single film.
Single film.
Wait, Infinity War costs less than on Stranger Tides?
Yes, that is correct.
It shows.
That is correct.
my
Yeah,
God.
it's in a three-way. It's in a three-way tie.
Where did
with,
that money go?
I don't know. I just thought that'd be a
Johnny
fun fact
Depp's
to throw in.
lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's crazy because I think they're just investing, but I think they're also investing in their directors.
Yes,
They're
that's
finding
true.
people they can trust, and I think one thing that Marvel does that DC doesn't, which we hit on already, is that Marvel learns from its mistakes. It listens to what people say, what the critics say, and also what the fans say, and moves forward from things and says, "All right, we tried that, didn't work."
Well, that
and they move
Ragnarok's
on.
a great example of that.
Absolutely, yeah, and even having like Favreau direct, because I remember when they first announced him, people were like, "Oh, really?"
Oh yeah, like
And now it's like you can't even imagine that movie without
from
him
the
as
director of Elf
exactly,
and the guy who got arrested for doing drugs in the street.
like I think that they find they pick good people that have maybe a different approach, and then they trust their vision. And that's the way that it seemed anyway from the outside in. I'm sure there's a lot more than that happening, but which they don't do with DC.
No.
Well, and they also, it seemed like they really also learned the lesson of how Age of Ultron really just went off the rails and it like basically broke Joss Whedon and everything like that. And maybe there's a power with the Russo brothers being like a duo and being able to like spread out the stress and like pressure of it all amongst the two of them. But
but maybe it's also Marvel realizing that we can't. We have an end game we're trying to get to, but we can't be so heavy-handed. Maybe
Absolutely.
They were with Age of Ultron.
Well,
And I think of DC for me is like the biggest one. DC, every time I see now DC, I'm like, all right, great. I feel like I'm just like plodding through this block to get to the bigger pyramid of it. It's like, whereas I think the Marvel films in general, overall, now we're getting to a nice point where they stand alone. And they, and again, I didn't have all the blocks for this puzzle. There's for sure at least a film or two that I missed before getting to this one. And I didn't really feel like I'd missed all that much. Yeah, meaning that like I want to go back and like make sure that I've seen all of them now.
Yeah.
Right? So that I get that much more. But even without that, without having gone through and rewatched all of them before I saw this movie, I was still able to keep up, still able to understand. And I think that's what you want for a general public.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Do you want to see, after this phase ends with next year with the conclusion of the Avengers film, do you want to see Marvel films do another ambitious thing like this, another 10 years? Say with another villain, like if they get the Fox film goes through and they use like Doctor Doom is leading up to that, or you want them to do something completely different in terms of the way that they kind of tell the stories in their universe?
I don't want them to do big things like this anymore. I think the movies I've been enjoying more from them the last few years have been the ones that felt more standalone. So you talk about like a Doctor Strange or Black Panther, I think is the most separated of all the films.
And Logan.
Doesn't count.
That's Fox.
It's Fox.
Oh,
It's not MC.
Yeah.
sorry.
But
okay.
the
Sorry,
movies.
you're still the novice. That's okay.
Yeah. But the movies that got to stand more on their own have been the more enjoyable ones. When characters just kind of pop up to have a couple scenes and to be playful in cameos, like the Doctor Strange and Thor Ragnarok, I absolutely loved. It's probably no surprise that I say this, given what our other podcasts about. But I would like to see this be more like kind of the way they did the DC animated universe, where it's a world that is really fleshed out, and there can be kind of like references, and characters can kind of pop in and out, and you can just have these like huge A-list actors just do a couple
But
scenes
that's
in
not
a
like
movie.
the main selling point.
But that's not the main selling point. It's like these moments you get to have because this world has so much depth to it, but they don't always have to be all together all the time. I would love for them to not do more Avengers stuff, but just have that sort of interweaving, do team-ups, do pairings, cameos.
I would be interested to see if they could do like the traditional comic book two-parter, where they set up maybe two characters, maybe even three, but they shoot it enough in advance where they could release one in March like they usually do now, and then one in November.
Yeah.
And that's it, two-part, and then they just move on to something else.
Well, I think by the time we get into... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Trevor.
I'd also like to see stuff like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Like double bills too would also be fun. Like
Yes.
Thor Ragnarok with Hulk and Thor. That some double bills would be fun. Sort of lower stakes team ups.
Well, if we're looking a decade into the future, we're going to be in VR. So that's an
You
interesting...
really think that's where we're heading for film?
I do.
I do as well.
Interesting.
I do. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be in the film?
Oh,
I'm not
I
saying
didn't
that I
say
want
that.
that,
No.
but
you
I'm
think that's what
saying...
the public wants?
I think that that production companies, from what I've seen, they think that is the future. They think that is what the public wants. Whether the public wants it or is ready for it.
I
But
agree with that.
I feel like as a gaming experience, yes.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
as a film going
It
experience,
is being explored as a film-going
Well, I
experience.
think
Yeah.
I
So
think we can take the trend of 3D and adapt that to VR, where
Right.
3D is dying, in my opinion.
I don't.
It had a rise. I think they're going to try VR, and they're going to try and do maybe a handful of big budget VR films. But that's also, 100,000 movie theaters you're going to have to readapt for VR.
Right. I'm not saying that it's going to be like, I'm not saying we're looking at like a practical thing where it's in every single movie theater. I'm just saying I kind of want to
And also
plant
with
the
VR,
seed of
it
that.
doesn't need to be in a theater anymore.
It doesn't,
Well,
but I
and
want to
that's
plant the
part of
I
it.
want
I
to
think
plant
it's a
the
huge part.
the idea of the seed of that idea for everyone. That think about these films, and if you take them down the route of VR as a separate but related medium, how that changes the way that they start making films. And because you could see a movie like Infinity War and then see it basically as a companion piece in smaller boutique theaters that are doing VR, in home sets, things like that, and it would completely change the perspective of the film because you'd be participating as a character. That's all. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
What was the Hardcore Henry? Was that the
Well,
first person?
but that was
directed
first
movie?
person. So, but I think along those lines.
Oh,
think,
Trevor, where you go?
Notice how I said it. Nothing.
yeah. Like a gentleman.
Are you gonna go feed your meter? Because you should feed mine too if you're gonna go do that.
I'm going to
All right,
Yeah, he's gonna euphemistically
go
feed the meter.
guys, I probably have a ticket on my car. We
yeah.
talked for so long.
I know
I
it
know.
happens every time, but I do want to touch on this point a little bit because I think Amanda, you said something, and Cameron, you said something too that I think those 2 points together make a huge difference. Cameron, you said it won't be in a theater anymore. I think that's exactly the point. Is maybe I'm just being very cynical because the first time I watched the movie was fucking ruined by the fans for me. I've never hated fandom more than I do right now.
I'm sorry.
but honestly, it's getting difficult to go see a movie and not find something going on around you distracting. Production companies are investing heavily in figuring out how to exploit VR as a medium. I know like companies that are making like VR documentaries. I actually was an extra, weirdly enough, in like the first ever narrative VR movie. It was a short. It was like a World War II short, and I'm a Russian soldier. Should have been German. Look at me, the blonde hair and the blue eyes, but it doesn't matter. But I mean, this was years ago, but it was shot on a camera that had like a dozen GoPros in a circle and like two up on the top. I never got a chance to see it because getting a chance to watch stuff in VR is hard.
Right.
But you know, I think there's a distribution format is emerging for VR.
Well, and so weirdly enough, in the European market, it's already a thing. So there's been a crime series in France that's a full VR TV series.
It's very scary because when you go in, you don't know if you're the victim or the killer.
I'm
just kidding.
Wish
I
it was that interesting.
I don't know.
It
Man,
was
put on
not.
your sunglasses
It was
as you said
not
that.
Yeah.
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 But the interesting side of it was a choose your own adventure, but they all led to the same path at the end. So I had to watch the first episode for my old job. You would look around the room, and kind of whatever hallway you would look at, that's where your character would go, and you'd have different interactions based on where you moved. And that's fascinating, and that's a great idea. But that's I don't know. I feel like. I just don't see the world of movies going that way.
I think that's eking out though. Like I don't know a lot about it, but I know Soderbergh did something with HBO that was like the story progressed and you like could choose how things
There's
moved
a
along.
whole app. It just won an award.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So I think it's all leading down that path, and I think Emmanuel, you have a very good point that I could see Marvel being one of the first companies to really lean in on that. I mean, one, they have the backing of Disney in terms of the money, but then also the access to technology. There's the Star Wars VR thing down at Disneyland, which you've probably done without us and lied
I
about
haven't
it.
done yet because my stupid friends never want to go when I'm there.
What?
Well,
You
bring your
better.
other,
Right?
I
bring
keep
your
hearing about
other
The
stupid
Void.
friends.
There's one in Glendale.
Yeah, one just open
You
in
have a
Glendale.
whole room
okay.
of stupid friends right now.
I know.
Let's all go do the Void, guys.
Go now.
Okay. Yeah, it's
No, I
up until
wanna-
midnight.
I want to sleep. But I think Marvel will be one of the first ones to do that. I think they will do. They might bring like a one shot or something like that, like a VR one shot, and just kind of like the hardcore fans do it down at their Disneyland space. But I can see them. They have been on the cutting edge and doing it well. I think that you're right. I think they'll do VR.
I mean, I feel like if we're getting into that level, I feel like a video game company is going to do it before a film company.
They're
Because
working on it, but there's so many of these. There are companies that do both.
Yeah.
Because with VR, you're blending them, especially with these choose your own adventure stories. That's just a Tall Tale. What's the company that made the Batman game?
Telltale.
Telltale.
Yeah.
That's just that company, and it's the line between the two is gonna blur.
Well, and I think, and as the uncanny valley gets kind of like narrower and narrower, that we're going to get to the point where you could build these worlds with real people in it, and it would still hold up
We're
very well.
already at the point like where technology, you could basically make interactive cartoons.
Yeah.
Like South Park, the game looks exactly like the show,
Yeah.
and the new Dragon Ball Z upped
so
it
good.
and looks just like the show. Like we're getting to the point like
custom cutscenes. Oh,
we're like the technology is there to create it, but as we get more human stuff,
yeah.
it'll
Well,
be
you
You
interesting.
want to
to
know
see
my
how it
biggest
goes.
concern with all of
And
that, though?
Motion sickness.
That yes. With the blur between video game and movie, the highest rated video game movie we've had so far is Rampage.
By 1 point
By
above
1 point above
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider. So they're gonna have to figure out a better way to
But
work that storytelling.
Hang on, we've talked about this. The best video game movies aren't movies based off video games, but movies that understand video games.
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim,
that's my
Jumanji
favorite.
is a lot of fun
That's true,
actually.
yeah.
So we're gonna probably end up getting a movie that understands the nature of video games. It won't be based off a
And
video
I
game.
don't think the first step is going to be interactive or choose your own adventure. I think they're testing that, which is more gaming for me. For me, the next logical step in tying together VR and film is that you feel like you are in it, so it's more of like a 360 experience. If you're in the movie we're talking about, Infinity War, like you're able to be on the battlefield and look to the right and look to the left and feel like you're there.
They
in
did
the
that
battle,
for
even if you're not present, almost more like you're just like an omniscient narrator.
Yeah. So before Suicide Squad came out, I don't know if you did it.
Down
but
at Comic-Con?
Yeah,
No.
at Comic-Con, they had that exact thing where they filmed a 360 camera during their big fight scene in the office building.
Did you hear my eyes roll just now?
But it was a unique experience for sure, where you did actually get to like look around and see all the combat going on. I am hesitant for action to be the first one to handle that because I feel like since there is so much happening in action films that it's hard, because that was my problem. I watched it twice because the audio didn't work the first time, but I couldn't find half of the characters that I was supposed to watch. Like I found Harley because she's front and center, but like I couldn't see Diablo or Killer Croc or anyone else in that shot.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily enthused by the idea of all of this. I don't even like going and seeing 3D movies, you know?
Oh, I hate them.
It-
I won't.
But I do think that, I mean, 10 years is both a long time and a flash, and I think that that's kind of where we're headed. We're always just looking for a new medium to exploit, you know, and I think that especially with something like this, where there's so much of a crossover between fans of gaming, both, you know, video games and like, you know, role-playing and things like that, and superheroes and film, like that's the kind of the natural convergence in the middle, I feel like.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, I think a lot of these like trends are going to just kind of progress along, and eventually they're going to converge, and we're going to have some property come out that's going to combine all these things. All of the Avengers.
Well, but then I feel like a movie that doesn't excite me because I feel like they'd have to set up with so many variables. Where if I just want to just spend the whole movie touching Captain America's butt the whole time, that's all I do in the whole
dreams.
movie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where's
Then-
that option?
Yeah, that's right. Then I as a audience should be allowed that, but are the filmmakers going to allow those possibilities? No, because they're not going to want you to be grabbing Captain America's
Frank's
butt.
like,
Chris Evans
Frank's
turn
like-
around after
Yeah.
every scene.
Frank's
what are you
like,
doing?
Yeah.
Captain, do you know where you are? And he's like, I'm in a dream.
Is it raining? I hadn't noticed.
Oh, water run through that beard. Oh yeah.
How much do you think Marvel's going to really work hard with Sony to keep Spider-Man in play after Homecoming? I feel like you got to keep him around.
Oh, absolutely. But I brought up this point with Chris a few weeks ago. Where do we go if Venom does well?
It can't do well. It just can't.
It's not yet. No.
But like in the
Do you really see a world where it does well?
Do you
that's
think
what I can't vision.
does
I
well? What's the standard for doing well? Because some of like I mean financially, just
financially it's gonna do well.
You think it's gonna
I
okay,
mean,
but it's not gonna be good.
I don't think it's gonna
Really?
do that well. No, because I the second time I saw the Avengers, they played the Venom trailer, and I had just you could hear murmurs for the whole crowd being like, "What?
Did you
Who is
get the
that?
good
What is that?"
trailer?
I got the new one.
Well, I got the old one.
Oh,
I'm
that's-
just like, why?
That terrible,
I
terrible
think,
trailer.
I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I played the game with my mom of showing her the trailer, not telling her what's happening, and asking her what she thinks the story is. And she was close. She thought it was some space virus that was killing a guy. And I'm like, that's the idea.
Also, survey of the room. What is the thing called that makes Venom? What is that creature?
The symbiote.
symbiote.
Symbiote?
Symbiote.
Symbiote? I say symbiote, and it bugs me when Jenny Slate's just really hard hitting it. A symbiote.
Yeah, I've always heard it pronounced symbiote.
I always heard it as symbiote because
not
that's how they pronounced it in
Leviosa.
Spider-Man, the '90s cartoon. It was a
I'm trying to
symbiote.
think where I heard it pronounced
Oh.
symbiote.
Symbiote.
But I don't know. It just
In every other medium sense.
I guess so. Yeah.
another huge glaring problem is just that Jenny Slate's involved in this as like the exposition machine.
It's
like
just to get back at Chris Evans because they broke up again, right?
I think they got back
No,
together for
that's-
a bit. Yeah.
oh, Chris Evans. I thought it was like
Yeah.
Pratt. I was like, you mean Anna Faris?
Oh.
Oh.
No, after this movie, Chris Pratt is dead to me.
Well, do you think he was just a tool in this film?
100%.
Yeah.
The fact that I mean, obviously they needed it for story purposes, but the fact that he like ruined the plan just because he couldn't take a step back.
Although, if you look, I mean,
Made me
I
so
agree.
angry.
I do agree with that. But then you look at it like Guardians 2, when Kurt Russell drops that he killed his mom, boom, he just shoots him right away. I mean, there's no.
That's the other thing. He pistol whips him. He's holding a fucking laser and he pistol whips him.
I know. That
I
yes.
haven't seen the preview.
What?
I haven't seen this preview.
Oh, the Venom.
I'm like racking my brain, and I'm like, or have you moved on to something else?
We jumped back to
Yeah,
Infinity War.
there's a new
Sorry.
There's a new Venom trailer that doesn't look that much better than the first one.
I don't think I've seen either of them because I didn't realize Jenny Slate was
You're
in
not
it.
you're not really missing out. To be perfectly honest.
It's just I
She
don't know if I
works out
want to
in my gym.
see Marvel
really?
adjacent films that are in the Spider-Man universe, but as far as we know, may not even have Spider-Man in it. Do I care?
I think because he's locked in for I think 3 standalone films and I think at least Civil War and then the 2 Infinity War films, right?
I hope
I think that's
so.
what the contract was.
I thought it was after the second Homecoming one. That's what I thought, but I don't know if it's I hope it's a third, but I always thought it was the second one.
I think Marvel I think Marvel has Sony by the balls and Sony doesn't want to admit it. And so I think Marvel will do everything they can to keep that train going, but they also recognize they don't need Spider-Man. And they have him locked in for as much as they need him, and any more. If they can, they will. If they can't,
Well, and they have to realize like they're going to get a slice of that box office right there from that $250 million, bigger than any Spider-Man opening. It's going to blow Venom out of the water. And yeah, I think Sony would be stupid to not just sit back and just take the money.
but they're already doing that. That's the interesting thing.
Well, because Spider-Man, that deal is insane. It's like what, 600 characters, Frank, or something like that. Like 500 characters that are a part of this deal. So yeah, Sony's not going to like be like, well, we're just going to take them all back. Take them all back, you guys. I think they're going to realize that the flagship character in this deal is better served by farming him out to another studio, but they're going to have like a Prowler movie. They're going to have a Venom movie. They're going to try and Silver Sable, Black Cat. They're going to try and build those characters up, and they're going to fail. But I think they've recognized that Spider-Man and his direct world are better served at Marvel.
Who owns Nova? Is that Marvel?
Marvel.
Okay.
Because Kevin Feige mentioned that like Nova would be an interesting one for a standalone film.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
I feel like Namor has some weird things.
Namor
Like,
is Universal.
I think he's Universal.
Which
Yeah.
that's also,
He's the only one.
but
Well, no,
also don't-
Hulk technically.
Oh, that's true.
Universal
Yeah,
has rights to do a Hulk solo movie. That's why we're basically never going to get one.
Hulk and Han Solo together?
But
I know.
I
So much
guess
salt
there
and
must
pepper.
because I know like with Fox they had a clause where they didn't do it in a certain amount of time. It reverts back to Marvel. I assume Universal does not have that clause in their contract because I've never seen anything ever with Namor, and yet they still have the rights.
Yeah,
to
so
that.
I'm not sure how that one all works. I think he's one of the last like weird offshoot characters that is still floating around there.
Do you think they would?
I think some weird one owns She-Hulk too. There's some like
So like
super-
Saudi prince owns She-Hulk.
Yeah.
It's like not even one of the big players, which is what really
New Line?
surprised me. It might be.
Oh yeah, because New Line picked up a lot of random stuff. Because
They had
New Line did Blade.
And I think they had Punisher too.
I've never seen the Thomas Jane Punisher, so I don't remember who made that.
Well,
one.
and they did Warzone as
okay.
well.
Would you want to see? Because Blade's back at Marvel now, right?
Yeah.
So would you want to see them?
Wait, didn't they announce a series? Was I wrong in that? I thought I saw an announcement that they were going to do a series with Ghost Rider, Punisher, Blade, and
Well,
someone.
I mean, Netflix and Shield have sort of negated that by utilizing those two characters in vastly different.
Yeah, I
thing.
don't know. I mean,
Although you still have the Johnny
Maybe I was
Blaze
mistaken.
Ghost Rider still
That's true.
running around.
But you also like I don't know. I would want to see like a Blade TV show and see what because they had like that cool one on Spike.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
wasn't
a few years-
bad.
Yeah,
fitting.
and so yeah, it'd be cool to see like what Marvel could do with the success of their Netflix shows, like the good ones.
Which are getting fewer and fewer the more and more they make.
Because
Burn.
I do agree, like She-Hulk would be a cool character to have that. But other than that, I don't know, like cosmic characters, I can think of more. But I'm thinking like Earthbound characters that Marvel doesn't have that aren't at Sony, that aren't at Fox. That I'd want to see Marvel do a film about. And I'm having a tough time thinking of.
I would
cool
love
character.
to see David E. Kelly write an Ally McBeal style show for She-Hulk.
Oh, that'd be so
Dan
great.
Slott did in the early 2000s.
That's a great series. That is a really
oh my
great
god,
series.
I'd love to see that TV show get made. Fuck it, let's just cast Callista Flockhart. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, I just don't know. I like another Earthbound hero that I want. That
I love
Marvel.
Calista, but she's not She-Hulk.
No, she'd
man.
be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously my Marvel knowledge is not as extensive, but yeah, I can't really think of any.
I mean, other than if they get, I mean, certainly Fantastic Four. If they get that, it's got to be a film that Marvel's got to do.
Right. Because that's what gives them the ability to go cosmic, really.
Yeah,
Well, they've already done it though.
but like,
Well, I assume they're gonna retcon the Infinity Stones after this, so then they're kind of losing their bridge. I guess that there's
but
also the Stormbreaker now is also a
with the Bifrost.
the Bifrost.
Yeah. Stormbreaker's the new Heimdall.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, that's another
Much
reason why I
less
feel
attractive.
like Heimdall's gone.
yeah.
Because they figured like his one purpose was to open the Bifrost.
Yeah.
And to have
And
those sweet,
bye.
sweet eyes.
Heimdall.
I enjoyed myself some Peter Dinklage. He's fine, but
He was
I thought,
great.
I thought like some of his like towards the end of it, like he's dying. Where's the handle? And then we never see him again.
Yeah.
That was it.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah.
He just wanders off.
He's just hanging out there, just like trying to eat some soup, but
Yeah.
he can't hold a spoon because his hands are
I-
cast shut.
So we're coming up on the almost 3 hour mark, and I have one last question.
yes.
This podcast is going to outlast
that's the goal. Yeah.
film.
Yes.
That did happen with Justice League.
It
Did
did.
it?
Well, Justice League was
Golly.
like-
guys, are you still with
Just shy of
us?
2
Thank
hours.
you.
Yeah.
If you've made it this far,
They
we
were
love
really
you.
curious
Unless you were a
about VR.
skipper and you skipped all the way to the end,
Yeah.
then it doesn't count.
So I didn't have many problems with this movie, but my biggest one was Red Skull and why he was there.
What?
I appreciated seeing him. With seeing it a second time and seeing all the confused looks in the audience, I don't think it was a necessary cameo.
I loved it.
I
His
do.
design was cool.
I love the idea that like the thing he sought most, the thing that's trapping him, and he can't. He can see it but can't touch it. But when I first saw the Dementor, I was expecting that to be death.
Yeah.
And would it have been too weird after already introducing, 3 new locations and having 18 characters? Would it have been weird to introduce a new character on top of all that?
I think so, because plus
Yeah.
it's a nice nod to we see him disappear at the end of Captain America: The First Avenger. I feel like that's always been like, hey, what's happening to the Red Skull? So I feel like that was a cool thing to introduce Death, because I feel like Death, at least in the comic book portrayal, like she's pretty aloof with Thanos. Like he does all the stuff to try to curry her favor, and she gives him nothing in return. So
Yeah.
for her to be so actively involved, it would have felt weird to me. So I like that. I feel like it was. They could have made it any character, I suppose, but the fact that they did it as Red Skull was like, oh, that you didn't need to do that. But I was like, oh, all
Yeah.
right.
But it
nice
is
little
also a nice. It's as close to a nod to Death as we'll get, because it's
Yeah.
a skull-faced person in a cape and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Well, it would have been funny to see Thanos work out pickup lines on Death.
Oh yeah.
hmm
And,
Yeah, he suddenly like starts stuttering and.
Yeah. You come here often?
Yeah.
I'm
Death's
trapped
like,
here. So
What,
yes.
what do you do around here for fun?
What I did, with Thanos, what I did like though is just the toll that you see after he does the snap, where
His whole arm is
Yes.
like veiny and almost burnt.
yeah, and at the end of the film he's kind of like limping out where he goes to sit down. So I do like that this whole thing took like an active toll on him to achieve his ends. It wasn't just like
It almost looks like the glove is like melted to his hand
Yeah,
now.
it got
Yeah.
charred. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it damaged the gauntlet. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that too.
backfires.
Peter Dinklage, you're not living up to your name.
Oh, the dink.
I
So
mean,
good.
because it doesn't. It looks like everything's still in. At least the stones themselves are intact.
Yeah, we know it
It's just
still
the gauntlet.
works because he teleports out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where it goes.
Wait, did he have the teleportation powers pre?
No, so
Gauntlet?
it's the space stone.
Using space.
it?
Ha
Look at you.
yeah, because he had to fly around
She is
to
no
grab
longer
it.
the novice.
That's true.
Learning
You need a
things.
new
very
Frank.
Yeah. Yes. As soon as he got that, he's like, oh yeah, bye spaceship.
Adios. But at least Heimdall got a nice little hero's death. That's all we can ask for, right?
Yeah.
More than
He's up
Zachary
in-
Levi did. Oh
God.
Oh yeah.
He's up in what's the Valhalla?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Valhalla, yeah.
that's the one.
Oh,
The halls.
Valhalla.
Up there with is that Dexter's Lab? You were just referencing.
Yes, it was. I'm so glad you caught it. The Justice Friends.
That might be the only time I've ever caught one of your obscure references. It's only because I actually used to watch Dexter's Lab,
Major Glory.
unlike most of the shit you watch.
Valhalla.
The unfraggable
Crunk.
crunk.
So good.
Shall we? Do we have any other closing thoughts? We should probably wrap
I
this
think
up
we've had
at a
the
certain
last
point.
20 minutes of closing thoughts.
Yeah.
There's like
what did you guys eat while you
Three
watched
of us.
the movie?
Three of us slowly
it's some
falling
brazen
asleep.
eggs.
I know. Yeah, I'm like I have to
You're
get
just
up.
like, wait, one more thing.
I have to get up early, and I also have to edit this before
2 bathroom breaks.
really tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess this is it, right?
Yeah,
Should we
That's it.
tie
We'll see
things
each
off?
other soon.
Well, next one is Deadpool.
Deadpool
Next
2.
one is Deadpool
Very,
2.
very
Which is
soon.
2
Like a
weeks?
few weeks out.
3 weeks?
3 weeks
Oh,
out.
boy. All right. Well, that's good.
I'm getting more and more excited about that movie.
I am too.
I've been excited about it.
And I feel like Deadpool in the comic books, like a little of them goes a long way for me. But I've been enjoying the film. I've been enjoying the whole experience.
Did your audience lose their mind on the last joke of the Deadpool trailer?
Peter?
With Peter?
Peter?
Oh, yeah.
Like, well,
Yeah.
the audience,
Ours
both times I
did.
saw it, just
Yeah.
I was just like, that's how you know it's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
And
gonna be a lot
what
of
I
fun.
love. No, I'm not going to talk about it. We're not going to.
No,
Yeah,
do
we're
it.
gonna go
Say
down.
it.
We're gonna go
Say
down the
it.
rabbit
Say
hole.
it, Cameron.
With Deadpool, it kind of ties back to like the cutting scenes for trailers.
Mhm.
Like you can, since it's all ADR with Deadpool, you can easily cut dialogue specifically for trailers.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because it's so self-aware, you can put stuff in there and have it just for the trailer, and no one cares
Right.
because you can't trust the character, so he does whatever he wants.
yeah, so that makes me really excited. Of like,
Yeah.
we're not like usually with comedies, you see the joke so many times in the trailer. When you see it in the film, it's just like okay,
Yeah.
that finally happened.
But also to the point of cutting the trailer, they unintentional. I don't know if it was unintentional, but like unaware to all of us, set up the balls to the face thing in the last trailer
Yeah.
with the toys.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, that
Oh
was
my
him
God.
giving. That was an actual shot from the movie that he was working on.
Yeah.
That he was like working with the dolls. Like, oh, that actually he was doing it for the movie, so that was part of the trailer. So it's like it's cool. Like again, like this.
They're so
Deadpool
smart.
has the most amazing marketing campaign for any
Always.
for any movie, definitely any
Ever.
superhero movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of it's Ryan Reynolds just like being game.
What did you
and
guys see
pushing it aggressively.
as a little congratulatory thing for Avengers and the record-setting thing? He posted a picture on Twitter of Deadpool. It's like on Stark Industries letterhead.
Oh, that was great.
And he's
yeah.
like, rejoining the Avengers. No,
yeah.
no, go bug Professor X.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Oh my God, no! It's super excited for that movie.
Do we
So.
think the Peter at the end of that is Peter? Peter will online was saying, "Oh, that's Peter Wisdom." I don't think that's going to be the case.
No.
No, a character from Excalibur that Warren Ellis created that could throw like little energy daggers, but I don't.
I want him to
No.
be just a normal guy.
I think
Named
it's
Peter Wisdom.
I think it's just yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. By pure coincidence. Okay, I think it is time for us to say
Sure?
adieu.
Oh man, we
Yes,
did it, guys.
we did it.
We should have all just brought jammies and sleeping bags and just camped in here
It's not
tonight.
a terrible idea.
We just kept talking until we all fell asleep.
Yeah, just marathon it.
it's
Yeah.
like,
So it's just one of us talking to ourselves.
hey,
Reference.
sleep?
No, because it would be like 7 a.m. We'd all be asleep, and Cameron would still be sitting here trying to remember names of characters. From
I just
Avatar.
named them all for you.
So, anyways, if you want to write to us at Timm Talk and you want to tell us that you actually do like Avatar, or maybe throw some names that we've forgotten, we can be found at Timm Talk
Or
Pod.
if we got anything wrong.
Or we got anything
Please-
wrong,
please
which we
correct
famously do.
us.
We are at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. Cameron, where can we find you personally?
You can find my art at Cameron.Dexter, or you can find my face at CamDexter_adventures.
I see you.
We will.
This is
Yeah, we can all
Instagram.
see your face.
If you want to tell Frank and I what we're doing wrong, or compliment us, or recommend things that we should be reading, you can hashtag the Novice and Frank. You can also check us out on Facebook at Comic Book Novice and email us Gmail. Emailing us at Gmail.
That's right.
All the Gmails.
Where can they find you personally?
So sleepy. They can find me at Barnes Rights on Twitter
Oh, look at you.
and Comic Book Novice on all the platforms.
You're doing it. You find me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie.
That's right.
There you go. And I got to get one of those, Snapchats brewing.
I can, guys. I finally figured out how to do it. You saw me
I
doing
was
it.
watching you.
I was
You were
doing
nailing
I was
it.
doing an Instagram story, but I learned how to do it, but it takes me like 8 years because I still don't understand all the buttons.
Yeah, it confuses me.
I'm
too.
an old Trevor. Where can they find you?
Well, Chris Ramirez and I don't make mistakes. So if you'd like to email us and say how
You made a
we
mistake pairing yourself with
informed
him.
us,
Yeah.
how we informed you and actually corrected any misconceptions you had, feel free. You can find us at PO2W_Flash on Twitter and Instagram. Podcast Two Worlds at Gmail, and you can find me at TrevorCopter across the board.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
And-
Chris is not on social media whatsoever.
Nor
so
He's not
He's
here
here.
either.
He's
so
not
it doesn't
here.
really matter. Does
So
Is that a personal choice or legal reasons?
He's hung the fuck over.
Still?
Yeah.
How early
So
have
we
we
are
started?
the podcast of Frank, Tim, and Novice talk two worlds. Thanks.
You
for
could
listening.
remember that.
Yeah. Hashtag that.
Yep.
You can remember that name.
We'll,
The three
Never forget
Avatar.
it.
if you guys have any suggestions on what we should be called, reach out to us.
Yes,
you
please
know,
do.
Feel free. We'll bring it to our next
Try and
Deadpool
think of something
discussion.
better than what I already pitched.
Anything's better than that. Come
Yeah. We can do better.
Right.
on. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.